All right, a very good evening, everybody, from the flight deck once again. Welcome to another Twitch live stream with me, Captain Naps here, and we are doing another episode of A Pilot's Life here live on Twitch. So welcome everybody to the stream. It's nice to do a stream in the evening. I unexpectedly kind of had this evening free. Wasn't really depending upon it, but it turned out to be free. So we're going to go ahead and get at least one leg of our Pilot's Life career done today. And if enough of you are interested, we'll talk about doing a second leg, because the second leg tonight would not be as long. Though it would turn into a very long mega stream. But anyways, we are here today. Where are we? We are still in New York City again and again and again. We keep coming here, and I think the jet bridge pretty much explains why. If you look over there in the corner, still living at home and proud of it. JetBlue is based in New York and Boston, so those are two of the biggest hubs. The one that's a bit weird is that we haven't been constantly going to and from Boston. We've done tons and tons of New York. We've done LaGuardia and JFK numerous times in this series, but I think we've only done Boston once through JetBlue, which to me is a little bit wacky, because that's another airport where they have a huge presence, but for some reason it just worked out that very few of our legs have come that way. So anyways, this is what we're up against today. Is we're going to be doing this flight today from, and let's see, where is it here? Here it is. I guess I got to bring it up there as well. So if I bring that there, then I'm visible, and so is that window up there. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. And so as you can see from my from the thing up at the top there, the whatever you call it, the overlay at the top, and also from this, we're going to be going from New York's JFK to Fort Lauderdale in Florida, KFLL today. So JFK to KFLL, that's our flight. It's a 3-hour flight in the Airbus, and that's what we're up against today. Pardon me. Okay. So we're going to get this show on the road. Our target takeoff time is in 39 minutes, or at least off the gate in 39 minutes, so we're going to be working hard towards that. But I just want to take just a couple moments here and just have a quick look around at this livery here, because it really is a kind of a nice livery. It's a different color blue. You can see the normal jet blue color there at the bottom there, and then they've got this lighter blue with this kind of playful pattern. I'm not really sure. The airplane's called Blue Erica. I really kind of maybe I'm just having a moment, but I'm unable to kind of figure out what the relevance of the pattern is. I'm just not 100% sure. Like, you can see that they've got these really colorful kites flying here on the tail, which is really neat. But maybe I'm just missing something too obvious, or maybe it's just something I'm not familiar with. But I don't get what this paint scheme is trying to show us, but it is a beautiful paint scheme nonetheless. And that's the one thing I do like about JetBlue, is they're a fun airline. They tend to have fun little playful names of their airplanes. Their tails are all different colors, some of them with fancy patterns and interesting names and everything. So what can I say? Like, certainly from the outside, it looks like an airline that doesn't take itself too seriously, which is kind of nice. So that's kind of the way I like to operate. I like to have fun. The airline business is a serious business by all means, but I do like to have a little bit of fun with it now and again too. So I kind of respect that about JetBlue. The way they kind of they're just a little bit of a fun company. I don't know if it's that way on the inside, and that's the other thing too. Is it could just be all a facade, or it could be that that's their kind of internal structure, their internal preference, as well as to be kind of colorful on the inside. I honestly don't know. I don't know anybody that works for JetBlue. If anybody does out there know, I'd be curious. But anyways, that's one of the reasons why I kind of chose it, and I've stuck with it as long as I have. They've got a nice fleet of Airbuses with fantastic paint jobs, and that was one of the big things, was just the vast number of paint jobs available. Like, I have not repeated the same paint job twice, I think, on this stream, even though this is almost a third season finish. So anyways, that's enough about what we're doing here. Let's get in the flight deck and let's get started. As you can see, we're in the Indy Builds JFK, and it does have some nice Indy files to define that work with GSX. So you can see our flight number, the departure runway to plan on, departure time, all that stuff is being displayed on the board in real time. It's a little bit weird because of kind of the way the lights change, but nevertheless, it just adds a nice little bit of background detail as you're looking out the window, since you do spend a lot of time facing this way while you're getting set up. But anyways, we're going to get set up now for our departure, so let's do this. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
And I believe this is is Lars. Is that who it was? I can't remember now who I picked. I picked yesterday. This is FO is Human Lars. Yes, from the Netherlands. So, yeah, we'll go ahead, and while he's doing that, we're going to pop the door open. He's putting the power on the airplane. I'm going to get the IRs on there. And he is going to go and start stuff here in a second. I'm going to make sure that the oxygen is on, the nav lights are on, and do a quick oxygen check, hydraulic fluid check, just a fluid level check for the three main fluids that get used up, which is oxygen, hydraulic, and engine oil. Make sure that they are all sufficient for this flight. And I'm going to try and intercept him before he starts this APU here. And I assume he turned on the batteries. Did he turn on the batteries? Yes, he did. Okay, because when we got in, there was nothing but just external power on this thing here. So he's going to run the test, and he's going to try and start the APU, and I'm going to intercept him and stop him because it's 40 minutes of departure. This is one of those weird things that, like, there's no need to start the APU this early. Unless the cabin is an uncomfortable temperature. 12 degrees in the cabin is not terrible.
I'm out for a walkabout.
It could be a little warmer in the back. We can always just put PCA on, and that's what we would do. We wouldn't be starting the APU 40 minutes before departure unless we absolutely had to. So, anyways, he's gone. Go do the walk around. We are going to get this show on the road here. So let's start off with the data screen, aircraft status, swap the database, swap it twice, get that current database back, and that clears out everything here. And then we can go ahead and put in our call sign today, JBU JetBlue 601. I was going to call JB, but JetBlue 601, and we're going from KJFK to KFLL. Then we can initialize our IRSs, and for this we need our flight plan. It's easier with the flight plan. All right. Interesting. So I did something different today, and I selected the JetBlue flight plan, which is really interesting. Oh, there are the NOTAMs. I didn't see where the NOTAMs were. So they're right after flight plan, airport briefing. Okay, that's where the NOTAMs appear. Okay. Yeah, just for sake of interest, all this time I've been using a Lido flight plan, but JetBlue's flight plans are in Simbury, so why not try that? So let's just have a quick look here. What was I looking for? Actually, what I was looking for was the JFK coordinates: 4038.4 north, 4038.4 north, 7346.7 west, 7346.7 west. We can align on that waypoint. And there we go. She's aligning. And if we just check out our MCDU, 6 minutes, we can go ahead and pull this thing and do a couple of things. So right now, we don't have any ATC online. I'm kind of a little bit optimistic that we will get some ATC for at least part, if not all, of our flight this evening, since we are, since it is Friday night, and there is no Friday night ops. It's one of those weird weekends where nobody really wants to do Friday night ops, and as much as Friday night ops is something that everyone loves to do, at the same time, I'm just going to pull up the ATIS up here. At the same time, there we go, FAA ATIS. What am I trying to say here? Losing my train of thought here while I'm trying to get this JFK ATIS here. It's a very sought after event, and yet there's a lot of effort that goes into Friday Night Ops. So very often I find that there comes a point where the ARTCCs don't want to do it anymore. If they've done it recently, like, it's a lot of work for them to put it on. They've got to get all their bodies in place. So there's 13 ARTCs in the US. Is it 13? Is there more than 13? I don't think it's even 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe it's about 20, but it's twice a year at least they have to do them, and it's a lot of work for them. So there have been some occasions recently where there have been people that did not want to do it. There's just not enough controller interest for the workload, for the slamming workload that goes on with it. So it falls apart a little bit sometimes. So there are the occasional weeks where just nobody wanted to do it, and so there is no FNO, and this is one of those weeks. There's no FNO tonight, so that I'm hoping that means that there's going to be lots of controllers online in various regions. Certainly between here and Florida, there should be at least a few controllers online. So let's see here. So we are going to plan to depart runway 31 left, and we got altimeter 2965. So I did set that on my mini FCU here, 2965. Just wait for this to finish aligning here. While that's going, we can, of course, trigger the loading. So let's do it. Let's start loading, people. We've got the door open, so we'll be able to see the crew. We'll be able to see the passengers, everyone getting on board. And we're just waiting to see the IRS's finish aligning here. So while they're aligning, there's a couple of things that we need to look at in our flight plan here. So let's pull our flight plan back up. There's a couple things we need to look at. First of all, we have an MEL today. So 743101 Alpha, which I should have the MEL up here. 743101 Alpha. What a surprise. That's the one that's right up here. Ignition system A, engine 1 ignition A fault. So for whatever reason, when the engine fired up one of the last few times, ignition A did not fire up correctly, did not start the engine, and ignition B had to start the engine. So it created a fault. It's been deferred by maintenance until they can get around to fixing it. In the meantime, we do have to follow this MEL before engine start. On ground, if the FADEC selects ignition system A during an automatic start, the engine fails to start. The alert related to the failure of the ignition system A appears on the EWD. Then the FADEC automatically initiates an additional engine start attempt with both ignition systems selected. So there's a 50-50 chance each time the engine starts. It alternates between ignition system A and ignition system B. So there's 50-50 chance you're going to start on ignition A on any given start. If that happens, it's going to fail initially, and the other ignitors are going to kick in on the second start. It'll all be automatic, but it's just a waste of effort, a waste of energy. So to maximize the probability to start an engine on the first attempt, the ignition system B must be selected by the FADEC. Perform one of the following engine starts. So we can do a automatic engine start, and for this we have to pull the circuit breaker for ignition A for engine 1. Otherwise, and then once we're done, push back in. Otherwise, we have to do a manual engine start. So for sake of interest, today we're going to do the manual engine start. This is actually a lot easier, but we're going to do the manual engine start today just for the sake of kind of demonstrating the procedure. It's a bit complicated. It's not terribly complicated, really, but it adds a little bit of interest anyways to operation. It remains possible to perform an automatic engine start without pulling the circuit breaker to the ignition system A. The first attempt may be successful because the FADEC may select ignition system B. However, it may fail because they may select ignition A. So that's our MEL that we're dealing with today, so we'll keep an eye out for that. We'll have to read that checklist just before we push back off the gate. And then we'll quickly have a look at the NOTAMs here. So 22 left closed. That looks like there's overnight hours. Some direction signs. Direction signs, ILS, slope 4 left. All right. Really just a wall of text here. I'm having a hard time processing this. I like my Lido flight plans. They're a little bit more organized. JFK-5 departure, 13 left. All right, so it's kind of all over the place here. There's no particular order of these NOTAMs, which is just frustrating, really frustrating. Lido at least organizes. Oh, I can't even read it. It's just a wall of text. And it's like 8 pages, 9 pages, 10 pages of just just of JFK stuff here. All right, so I didn't see anything terribly crucial there, but we'll probably have to have a second look once we kind of have a better idea of what our plan is. All right, so the IRS is aligning. We're 1 minute away from finishing the alignment, and just have a quick look. Still no ATC online, but if anybody wants to fly with us tonight, this is what we're up against. So feel free to drop on in and fly. I'd love to see a group flight. We haven't done one in a long time. I was kind of hoping that on a Friday night we might be able to score this, but I'm sure you guys have more lives than I do on Friday nights. All right, but we are just about ready to get started here. There it is. The IRSs are fully aligned. You saw the moving maps pop in there. Once this IR in aligned message goes away, we can move on to the next step. And there it goes. So what we have to do is... There we go. What we have to do first is, on the menu page, ATSU, AOC, and initiate our flight here. Initiated automatically via ACARS, and this should be JetBlue 601. I'm going to put on my flight counter while I'm waiting for this to happen, just so I can look over and know what flight it is. It is flight 601. Let's see here. Okay, JetBlue 601, JFK, Fort Lauderdale, alternates PBI 226, and yeah, 2018 UTC. All right, 226 ETE, that sounds good. All right, and then we'll go back over to the other one here just to grab the secondary. So I like to kind of keep the second one during the setup as the ATSU screen. And then I can always have the ATSU screen handy and ready to go. So secondary, we got nav accuracy upgrade. I'll clear that. GPS primary, I'll clear that. And then secondary. AOC secondary flight plan uplink. So we've got JFK to Fort Lauderdale, 1,163 miles. If we look at our flight plan again, and I'm not even sure where to find it on this one, but I'm assuming it's on page 1 or 2. Let's see here. There's the fuel. Time computed, flight profile, top line 360.
Hi, the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Go for it.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm not familiar with the JetBlue flight plan, so I didn't figure out what the distance is, but that does sound about right for the JFK to Fort Lauderdale. So we'll go ahead and activate that, and we will recheck the route again when we do have time, so as we get through the setup process here. So let's start with the overhead flow. Let's just make sure it's not the first flight of the day because it's already 6 p.m., so we've already been, this airplane has no doubt already been flying today. So we won't do any of the first flight of the day checks. All right, and fueling is still underway, so we're not going to turn on the fuel pumps just yet. We are going to turn the mode select manual. We don't need to do battery test. External power is on. These should be sitting right about here. And just as I look at the conditioning panel, let's have a quick look and see how that conditioned air is doing. That preconditioned air that we turned on, did it turn off? No, it's on still. It's just taking its time. It's getting there. 16 degrees coming in. I mean, it's not unreasonably cold in there. It's a little cool for the passengers, so you might have to start the APU early here, but starting at 40 minutes before departure is just not really viable. So, all right, we're still fueling. No smoking lights. All right, and all right, so we got 2965 on the altimeter. I'm going to get constraints up there, and we'll put those both in VOR mode. Got 100 feet right now. Make sure the brightness is up on the background there. And I actually don't know what 2965 is, so 1004. So let's go ahead and go 1004 on this. Sounds like they're boarding. I think I hear people. Yep, people are boarding. Good. All right, that's even. Refueling, no smoke, parking brake, TCAS standby company message. That's all good. Anti-skid is on. Date is March 7th at 2021 Zulu. So this, again, I've said this before, and I backdated the clock by 3 hours. So I've talked about this before, but I just, streaming at night, it's so, I hate to say boring, but there's so little to look at out the window that I find I don't want to do it. So I've backed the time up 3 hours just to kind of give us a chance to land close to sunset, but hopefully still in daylight hours. 19.1 is the, all right, so 19.1 is the CTAF for JFK, so we'll set that up right now. Yeah, man. Oh, 533 kilohertz spacings. All right, and I just did a quick little mic check there because I did a flight earlier today, and it was only when I got to my destination that I realized that the mic was not working. The push-to-talk was not working, and I didn't even do anything other than restart vPilot and it started working. But I find that every once in a while you start vPilot, and the push-to-talk just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. This auto on the landing elevation, 0 feet makes sense. Status is clear. Yeah, we just every once in a while, and generally vPilot's a pretty rugged piece of software, but there's a few little glitchy things with it that I really kind of bug me. And yeah, two of those things are yeah, sometimes the push talk just doesn't work, and there's nothing you can do other than restart vPilot, and then it works after that. And sometimes trying to reselect a new push to talk also very problematic if you've got a number of pieces of equipment hooked up to your computer like I do. It has a hard time detecting which button you're trying to press. So I almost wish you could save like multiple profiles in vPilot, because I have the side stick, but I also have a joystick, and each one of them has their own push to talk. And I'd like to switch back and forth between those two push to talks depending on what I've got installed, what I'm flying. If I'm flying something with a side stick like the bus, I have the push to talk on the side stick. If I'm flying a Citation or a Boeing, I want the push to talk on the yoke instead of the side stick. But if you've got multiple peripherals hooked up, I find that vPilot often has a hard time detecting which of those buttons you're pressing, because so many of these buttons on here, like the brakes or the spoilers or the flaps, are always being held in. That button's always being held in that you can't. That's what that's the first thing that VPIL detects over and over again. So it would be nice if there were like multiple profiles where you could save it and then just sort of switch between the profiles instead of having to push the button every single time. Anyways, minor little thing. I really should make that suggestion because I think that would make life a little bit easier. Okay, quick flight instrument cross check. So we got one FT2. One FT2. Altimeter is 2965 inches, indicating 40 feet. 2965 inches, indicating, yeah, pretty much 40 feet. 2965 inches, indicating 40 feet. And the field in JFK is about 20 feet, so that's fine. And heading of 297. 297. Yeah, 297. 297. 297. All right. So that all looks good. And we're going to hop in the box and start setting up here. Let me just again recenter this a little better here. I might even just do this just so I can have room to put my flight plan up there. And away we go. All right, so we have got the A320-200 with speed.
Delta 3322 is on final for runway 31 right.
All right, and I need to know how that volume is too. And I didn't. By the time I looked over the screen, he stopped talking, but I'll look at it next time. V2527 Alpha 5 engines. Database is current until the 19th of March. We've got a performance factor +0, +0. It says check takeoff data. We will check it eventually. Data, position monitor, and selected. Nothing is currently deselected as far as we know. Everything works today. So the flight number again, because for some reason, the secondary always blanks it out. But JetBlue 601. We're going from JFK to Fort Lauderdale with an alternate of PBI. Cost index from the flight plan. I saw this up at the top here. I think it was pretty low. It was cost index of... our dispatcher is Bobby Vance. Cost index of 7. And then looks like 360 I think is our cruise altitude here. So 360. So cost index 7, 360. And then do we have an average wind component here? Average wind. But not a component. And we don't have an ISA deviation, do we? No, I don't see an ISA deviation. Top of climb should be -44 anyway. So, all right, 7, 360, and then it should be -44, which is what we got there. Tropo 44. 3 sounds pretty reasonable. So departing JFK. We're planning to depart runway 31 left, and we don't have any ATC online. I'm going to look one more time, but we do not have any ATC online, so I'm going to do the Kennedy 5. Oh, I don't know what we would get. I honestly don't know. Trying to sort of make an educated guess here. I'm just pulling up the charts for JFK here right now, so let's see here. SIDS. See the score 5 off of 31 left. So it's a climbing. The score 5 is a climbing 503.14 in a course of 238 to score, or 243 to score. It's very hard to kind of see what this is doing here. The D's 5, where does the D's 5 take us? That's probably not going to help us much. And the Kennedy 5 off of the 31s. What does the Kennedy 5 do off the 31s? This one does the left turn out. I think we will do the Kennedy 5. Kennedy 5, and we'll do the... We'll do the breezy point climb. Seems reasonable anyways. I don't know. I'm hoping some ATC comes online to tell us what to do here, but I'm going to put the JFK-5 in there anyways. For 3-1 left, insert that. And then... what am I looking here for? I lose my train of thought so quickly in this. Okay, arriving in Fort Lauderdale. And do they give us a flight plan here? They do. They don't give us a runway, though. So we'll have to guess. I'm going to just guess 28 right, CUDA 3 magic. And maybe we'll change as we get going here. So I'm just going to put in ILS runway 28 right. And we're going to do the CUDA 3 arrival through magic. And again, I had covered up the screen again. Didn't get it in time. ILS 28 right, CUDA 3 magic. All right. so we've got our arrival and our departure in there. Let's just check here. Do we have any... No, I don't think we have any step climbs. I think they would be listed here. And no use to find waypoints, so let's just have a look at this flight plan here. So we should see Wavy, MJ, Quebec 167 to ZJ, Calda, Quebec 133 to Cheese, Yankee 291 to Magic, where we do the CUDA 3. So Wavy, and I'm just going to move this on the other screen so I don't lose track of it here while I go through this. So Wavy, direct MJ, and then that's Quebec 167 to ZJ, or ZJ. And then direct to Calda, where we join Quebec 133 down to Cheese. There's Cheese, Yankee 291 to Magic, and that's where we start the CUDA 3. So this should still say Yankee 291 here. It should be the CUDA 3 after Magic.
Hi guys, here is the loot sheet for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
All right, I gotta change that voice. That voice I find very awkward. CUDA, Locker, Beckney. Yeah, all the way down to 28 right. ILS for 28 right through Fuzzy. All right, so that's all good. And the total distance 986. Do I have the total distance? I was looking for this on the flight plan. I didn't see it anywhere. Let's see here. Do I have a distance to go? So total distance is going to be 1,006 miles with a couple of vector legs. That doesn't sound unreasonable. 986. So I think we're good there. RadNav, and again, let's go back to the departure chart here. I think we're doing the breezy point, so climbing left turn direct CRI and make turn east of CRI radial 039. Remain within 4.5 DME of JFK. Then via CRI 223 to Ranger. Cross 3.0 CRI or JFK 253. Alright, so what I think we'll do is we'll tune in the CRI. We need a 039 and a 3-mile radial, so let's do that. So we are going to need a couple of things here. So I'm going to put CRI on number 1. I'm going to put JFK on number 2. And what we're going to see is a 039 radial from CRI. And I think I might also just do it this way because this might be the easier thing to see is... Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Fixed info, that's what I'm looking for. So CRI. So we need to be east of radial 039. So we have to make our turn east of radial 039. Do not cross the radial. And the actual radial we're looking for is the 223, which the opposite of that is 043. That's what we're looking to actually track inbound. And cross 3 DME from CRI at or above 2,500, so 3-mile radius. So there's a bunch of things we're looking at here, but I'm going to show you here now on the nav view. So this is CRI, so we have to finish the turn before this farther one. This is the target here, and then we have to cross this radial at or above 2,500 feet per the departure. All right, got some useful stuff in the RadNav for once. And, oh, I think we got some ATC. Somebody's messaging me anyways. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, we got an 8-cars message. We got some ATC. Let's have a quick look here. Cleared the score 5 departure. Now that I finished that whole thing, Yankee transition. Never fails. You do it all, and they go and change it on you. ATC. No, I'm happy to have ATC. I'm not going to complain. I'm just joking. Okay, so the score 5 departure. Yankee transition. All right, we'll insert that. All right. Let's just see. So now let's go back and recheck our RadNav page here for the score 5 departure. So 31 left, heading 314 to intercept course of 238 to score. So this is actually even easier. There's none of this messy stuff on here. If anything, we probably get rid of this stuff here. So score.
Central aircraft, Kennedy Tower now online. Information Quebec is current. Kennedy altimeter 2965.
And Yankee 2965 is what I got. Score. CSID Yankee. CSID's above 2,500. I do see that there. Perfect. And then after that, we should still have our Wavy and the rest of our flight plan MJ. That's all there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's even easier, actually, in the end. I'm going to get rid of the CRI here. And let it go back to auto-tune. Secondary. Going to recopy this and put a immediate return after Yankee back to KJFK. And we'll put the ILS to runway 31 right. So we have to make an immediate return. ILS 31 right. It's also pretty long ILS as far as I recall. No star required, just the ILS. All right, so at least we've got that in there. It's pretty VMC. I'm not going to worry about the minimums. So on to the init Bravo page. Taxi fuel, 0.2, route reserve 0. Alternate fuel, yeah, what am I doing? Alternate fuel. What am I looking for here? Alternate fuel, okay. See if I can figure this out here. Alternate fuel looks like a 0.8, and final reserve of 1.1. Alright, so 0.8 and 1.1. Alternate. Final reserve 1.1. And then the ZFW, that's what I was looking for over here on number 2. So we should have received messages. This is probably our preliminary load sheet, that's fine. Here's our final load sheet. Edition number 1, JetBlue 601 on the 7th of March, JFK, Fort Lauderdale, that's our call sign. 61 tons by 32.3. 61 tons by 32.3. And if we just look up here really quickly, can't quite see it, damn it. 9380, that's what we're looking for. So 9.4 tons on the gas. So that takes us to 70.2, and we didn't actually do a takeoff calculation, so we'll do it for 70.4. Maybe give ourselves a little margin in case we don't burn our taxi out fuel. 29.8 for the Mac, looking good. While I'm in here, I might as well just get the ATIS for JFK now that there is a controller here. And departure ATIS. I was hopeful, and it looks like I won. Alright, so 70.2, and average wind. I don't believe we get an average wind from JetBlue. I'm just going to take one more glance at the flight plan, see if I can figure it out here. An average wind for the whole flight. But I don't see it anywhere. This is my first time. Oh, there's the distance. And there's the altitude. Okay, see, just learning things. Trying to figure this out. It's the first time I've ever looked at JetBlue's flight plan. Oh, there it is. Average wind component, 15. Minus 15. Okay, there we go. So it's there. I just got to find it. I just saw it today. I was just like, oh, why have I not done that? Why have I not used JetBlue's flight plan to date when I've been, when I've been flying so many JetBlue flights? So let's try that. Okay, so burn should be 6.3 for 2 hours and 26 minutes. I got 6 tons and 231. Hopefully that voice is not too distracting. If it is, guys, tell me and I'll mute it for now. But that's pretty close, and extra 1.5, so let's see here.
Got 24, runway 31 left,
extra 0.7, 0.7 plus the contingency. Where's the contingency? Dispatch add, so that's probably contingency, 1 ton, 1.5, so we're out a little bit from our planned fuel, but we're in the right ballpark anyway, so I'm going to go with that. It seems reasonable. So we'll zero that back out, and we'll get the real wins here. Wins on request, and while we're waiting for those to come back, we'll go to the tablet and do some takeoff data. That's landing, that's takeoff. Alright, there we are. Runway 31 left, Kennedy, looks dry out there. Optimal flap, we won't force toga. Anti-ice is going to be off, packs on. And 70.2, so let's do 70.5, I believe. Sync load sheet, and then we'll do 70.5. Just makes it easier than trying to even copy the Mac. It's right there. Alright, calculate that. 31 left. We got a flaps 1 departure with a flex of 65 degrees, 156, 158, 159, 1520 across the bottom. That looks pretty good, so we'll send that over to the MCDU. Back to the MCDU.
Hey guys, all packs are on board. Are we clear to close?
Thanks, it'll be a short taxi. Good to close. Cleared to close. Yes. Yes. Cleared to close. There.
Flight controls.
Cancel checklist. Cancel checklist.
Roger.
Alright. I was just trying to talk to her, and she was listening. But let's get the APU fired up now that we're about just over 5 minutes from departure. We can get the APU fired up now, but we saved some gas by not burning it before this. Okay, so that's going to get started there. Back to the MCDU where we're almost done. We got the winds in. They're all blue. The performance calculation, runway 31 left, no takeoff shift, the full length, flaps 1, and a flex of 65. V1 156, VR 158, V2 159, standard position 18,000, 1510 across the bottom for thrust reduction acceleration, engine out at 1010, 221 the green dot speed. We're not going to pre-select for the climb, we're going to accelerate 250 right away. Prog page, we're cruising at 36, the optimal's at 34, the max at 36.5. So we might have to stop a little early, but we'll see how the
right onto Papa, November,
we'll see how it looks. And let's see here.
Okay, taxi to parking right on Papa.
KFLL again. KFLL, 2 L's, there we go. 930 miles sounds good. GPS primary nav accuracy is high, and the IRSs are all naviging at a 0.3, 0.4 bias. That all looks good. Okay, let's just review the clearance thoroughly now that we've reached that point here. So, JetBlue 601, equipment A320, departing JFK, destination Fort Lauderdale, route Wavy, MJ, Quebec 167ZJ, Calda, Quebec 133 to Cheese, Yankee 291 to Magic, the Cuda 3, that's all correct, 360, 2306 on the squawk. And remarks cleared the score 5 departure, Yankee transition, climb via the SID, expect 360 10 minutes after departure. Advise ATIS contact.
Vector calling Kennedy Tower, I'm only getting static, just check your mic.
Alright, so 2306 is in the box. Alright, so we've got our clearance. I'm just going to move this out of my screen here. We got our clearance. Let's see, we've got fuel. Looks like fuel is 93, and again, just hit the flight plan. Just looking over here on my other screen, but fuel, min block was 8.7, total 9.4, so that's where we're at, so that's good. Alright, we got the APU started. Kill the external power. We'll give it a 3-minute timer for the APU bleed.
107 Kennedy Tower, wind 300 gust 24, runway 31 right, clear to land.
Alright, so we got fuel tanks, we got center tank pumps, and there's nothing in the center tank, so the center tank pumps are staying off, and the belts can go on. Load's already in, the final numbers are already in, and logbook is checked, so just a quick departure review again, and then we'll do a briefing here. So we'll just compare what we've got here, but we've got 314 degrees, 420, then of course 236 to score, then direct CSID, direct Yankee. Alright, so let's just have a quick look here, and that's basically what it is. 314, then left turn direct, left turn course at 238 into score, CSID above 2500, and Yankee. That's all in there. Expecting to cross CSID at 6200, so it's not going to be a problem. More for the Avies that becomes a problem. Alright. Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
Alright, so once again, we are... Oh, didn't mean to undo that. Once again, we are... Technical status of the aircraft. We do have that MEL. I'm going to review it right now because I didn't review it last time and then we tried to do it without. So, I'm going to go through my checklist here if I can find it for a manual engine start, because there's a lot of details to this, and this is the problem. So I'm going to read this. It's kind of a little bit dry, but it's important that you go through this and read it once before you try to do it, because once you start doing it, things happen quickly. So manual engine start, general pilots normally use automatic start to start an engine. However, manual start is recommended for the following cases: engine stall, engine EGT over limit, lower start pressure, any of these reasons, but we're doing it because of the missing igniters to trigger both igniters on the start. Because when you do a manual engine start, both igniters fire every single time. Manual engine start procedure: during a manual engine start, if flight crew suspects engine start malfunction or if an engine-related ECAM alert is triggered, the first officer must abort the start sequence as follows. Before the engine master lever is set to on, just set the engine manual start, push button switch to off. After the engine master lever has been set to on, set the engine master lever to off, then the engine manual start push button switch to off. In that case, the flight crew should consider dry crank the affected engine before they perform another start attempt. Then in case of an ECAM alert, the first officer must announce ECAM actions in accordance with ECAM management philosophy. Then the checklist is that thrust levers must be at idle. Caution the engine start regardless of thrust lever position. If the thrust lever is not set to idle, the thrust rapidly increases to corresponding thrust lever position, causing a hazardous situation. Then we'll do engine mode selector, normal, then ignition start. The lower ECAM displays the engine page. When all engine parameters are available, the upper ECAM display with no amber crosses. So engine manual start, push button switch on. Start valve will check in line. N2 increase will check. Oil pressure increase will check. If the N2 does not reach 20%, we check that the pack valves have closed. If the APU bleed is used for engine start and the pack valves are closed, shed the APU. Electrical loads as follows: galley and cabin off. If needed, shed also the blue electric pump, the fuel cross feed, fuel pumps, blower, cabin fans. However, if when N2 reaches 22%, or the maximum motoring speed, minimum 20%, and maximum motoring speed is defined as a speed at which N2 acceleration is less than 1% for approximately 5 seconds.
Fairmark 107 Heavy, welcome to
Engine
Kennedy. Where are
master
you parking
on,
tonight?
chrono start. The PM starts the timing in order to monitor the light up duration. Igniters A and B check on, so make sure the igniters go on, fuel flow increase check, and 15 seconds maximum after fuel flow increase, we should get an increase in EGT and N1. If the electrical power supply is interrupted during the start sequence, indicated by loss of ECAM displays, abort the start by setting the engine master lever to off, then perform a dry crank. When the N2 reaches 50%, start valve will check its cross line. Igniters A and B check off. Main engine parameters check normal. Secondary engine parameters check normal. And engine manual start, push button switch off. Engine mode selector normal. When no engine needs to be started manually. Shed assistance restore. SOP engine start resume. So there's a large checklist, but there's a lot of little notes on there. So when we do the actual checklist, we won't read the notes because we've read them already. We've considered them. We'll just go through the checklist itself. So that's the manual engine start we'll have to do because of the MEL, which is kind of a little bit of an interesting change of procedure. And then no note times I saw that really affect our departure. Let's have one more look now that we know which runway we're departing, but I don't think there was anything really terribly crazy in here for, thank you for putting an ad there. All right, so there are some closures of Alpha Taxiway. Let's do this, let's do score. 5 departures, takeoff minimum 3-1 right. Yankee transition. All right. Anywhere else that we talk about? Score 5 departure. Add no top altitude 5,000. Ranger transition. Confirm Ranger's correctly low definite prior departing 3-1 left. And we're on the Yankee transition anyway, so that's good. All right. So we did have some stuff in there. The other thing I'll search for then is 3-1 left. Let's just see what it says here. St. ILS 3-1 left. Okay, that's northwest of 3-1 left. We're gonna have Yankee. I don't see anything else about 3-1 left. Breezy Point climb. That's about it. Okay, good. Okay, so I think that's everything. So the departure.
107 looks like you missed your turn there.
The departure today is the score 5. RDAF departure out of John F. Kennedy International. 10-3 Charlie. Radars required. Departing 3-1 left requires expeditious intercept of the outbound course 238 to score. All right, we'll leave the autopilot off until we've intercepted that, and we'll crank it around if we have to by hand. Initial climb, again, 3-1 left. Heading 314, intercept 238 to score. That's in the box. And maintain 5,000. So I'm going to set 5,000 on the FCU right now. There's 5,000 feet set. And then that's basically it. Those initial climb transitions. We're going to make that restriction at CSID. Noise abatement, nothing published, and engine failure, we'll just simply make the left turn direct to score and request vectors thereafter. That same routing will take us out of the water, so it's not an issue. The MSA around here is 2,000 over the water. All right, performance in the box. For the left seat departure off of runway 31 left, it's a dry runway, no takeoff shift, flaps 1 and flex of 65, V1 156, VR 158, V2 159, standard transition 18,000, 1510, 1510, 1010. For thrust direction acceleration, engine acceleration 221, the green dot speed, and it's not increased select, we're going to accelerate 250. Managed departure, we've got, let's see here. We got climb blue, nav blue. We'll get the autopilot on shortly after departure since we are essentially single pilot with this guy, but not until after we started that turn and make sure that turn happens in a reasonable amount of time. And RadNav, now we've got it all auto-tuned. We are going to be, fuel prediction says, we're going to be above max landing weight at departure, so if we have to do immediate return, we'll do the checklist, otherwise flaps 3 and packs off for the arrival if we don't have time for the checklist. Secondary's got the immediate return onto runway 31 right. Any questions?
No questions.
Pre-flight checklist. Pre-flight checklist. Cockpit preparation checklist.
Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Fuel quantity.
9.4 tons. Set engine.
Seatbelts. Adios.
Those are on. Nav. Nav.
Barrel ref.
Roger.
2965 inches. 2965 inches set.
2965 set. Cockpit preparation checklist complete.
All right, so we won't worry about the emergency drills today. We won't do single engine taxi, and I think that's about
107 Heavy, we can do this.
unless I've missed something, I
make
think
a
that's about
right
it. I'm just
turn
going to pin
here
this so that it's
on,
on my list
Victor.
here. And
Taxi runway
let me just double check what he
13
said
left,
here. I think it
and
was
then exit at Whiskey
contact
into the ramp at Whiskey.
119.1
So
ready
right
for
turn onto the
taxi.
runway,
So we're going to push our
taxi
discretion.
down
We'll
to
call him
Whiskey,
for the
and then to the
taxi.
ramp at Whiskey.
For 3-1 left, I would expect we're probably going to go out Alpha Juliet. And that's all I got. All right, are we ready? And the one thing I might kind of want to do is there are a few intersection departures here, so I kind of want to...
24, runway 31 left, clear for takeoff.
31 left, clear for takeoff. Shamrock 105, thank you.
And we'll just ask the full light, make it easy. All right. I think we got everything done. Make sure this is on. We got way more than 3 minutes there. All right, so we'll turn on the beacon. Before start checklist.
Parking brake.
Set. On. Set.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for
V1
pushback.
156, V2 158, sorry, V1 156, VR 158, V2 159, flexing 65 degrees.
5, 6, 4 rotate, 1, 5,
Shark 106
8,
heavy,
V2,
runway
1,
31
5,
left, line up
9,
and wait.
flex stamp, 6,
Line
5
up and wait.
degrees.
31 left. Shamrock 10.
Departure checks completed. Bypass pin inserted.
For some reason he stalled out here. Cancel checklist. Before start checklist. Cancel checklist.
Roger.
Before start checklist.
Parking brake.
Set.
Locking gear.
Set. Set and checked.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
V1 156, VR 158, V2 159, flexing 65 degrees.
V1, 1, 5, 6, 4 rotate, 1, 5,
Check 105
8,
heavy, no further
V2,
ATC is
1,
available.
5,
Frequency change
9,
approved.
flex
Have a good
stamp,
flight.
6, 5 degrees.
Frequency change
Windows.
approved. Shamrock 105, good day. Thank you.
Shark
Closed.
106 heavy, wind
Beacon.
30017,
On.
gust 24, runway 31
Before
left,
start
clear for takeoff.
checklist complete.
31 left, clear.
All right, I'm just going to check that we do have some tracking going on here. All the tracking appears to be working here. Just going to check the double check on my other computer
Radar
here.
and corrective feed system.
Cancel checklist.
Roger.
Sometimes you mute him and it doesn't take the first time. Okay. Let's see here. Are we waiting for me here? Yeah, we are.
Release parking brakes, please.
Alright, before we do that, let's just have a quick behind us, in the alley. Alright, perfect. Alright,
Release parking
brakes are off,
please.
ready for
Commencing
pushback.
push.
Delaying and start till
All
advised.
engines clear. Start at will.
Alright, thank you. Alright, underway. I'm only a couple minutes behind schedule, about 7 or 8 minutes behind
Shark
schedule.
106 heavy, no further
I just
ATC
talk way too
available.
much.
Frequency change approved. Have a great flight.
Headed over.
Starting engine 2.
Okay.
So this is going to be a normal start on engine 2. Engine 2 is working just fine. It's not engine 1 that has the faulty igniters. Alright, we should start getting the fuel flow here momentarily. It's 25, 26%? I can't remember in this airplane. It's 22 in the CFMs anyways. Here comes fuel flow. ETT's rising. Here comes the N2. Or the N1, I should say. Did I ever even check the ATIS? I sent for it. I don't think we ever even checked it. Alright. There's a normal start on engine 2. Now we're going to do the manual start on engine 1. I'm going to wait till we stop just because it's going to be less distraction. So I'm just going to quickly check the 8th.
Reset parking brakes.
Alright. Brakes are set. Confirm when the pins are removed. Alright, so let's just go here and just check out what the ATIS said. Because I never did actually look at it. Let's just do it the easy way here. JFK ATIS, Quebec, 300 at 17, gusting 24. Good breezy day. 10 miles, view at 10,000, 11 degrees, minus 12. Nice day at least. 209.65. Departing runway 31 left. No TAMs, read back runway hold short. Advise you have information, Quebec. Okay. Perfect.
Unlocking gear.
Alright, so while he's doing that, I'm going to get ready to do this manual engine start on number 1. Alright, so manual engine start on number 1. We've read the notes. So thrust levers idle. They are at idle. And engine mode, normal, then ignition. So normal.
Tow truck disconnected.
And ignition.
Bypass pin removed.
When all the engine parameters are available on the upper cam display, engine manual start push button on. So engine 1, manual start push button on. Confirm we have the inline valve. We have the inline valve. N2 increase. We definitely have N2 increase and oil pressure increase. Alright, he's going to go by. Thank you. See ya. We definitely have the oil pressure increase. And, what am I looking in the wrong place here. If N2 does not reach 20%, so I'm going to say probably 26% is where we normally would start this. We would add normal fuel flow, so when N2 reaches 26% or max motoring, there's 26%, engine master on. So this actually now opens the fuel valve and allows the fuel valve to open. But it just basically takes that step to the pilot's control instead of the automatic VATAC control. Chrono start. I guess I should continue reading this checklist instead of talking. Igniters A and B check on. We do have igniters A and B. Fuel flow increase. We did get the fuel flow increase. 15 seconds after fuel flow increase, EGT increase. So less than 15 seconds to get the EGT to start increasing. The N1 accelerating. And when the N2 reaches 50%, the start valve should close. There it is, it's closed. Igniters A and B should go off. They are off. Main engine parameters check normal. I'm just going to basically compare them to the right engine, which started normally. And everything looks pretty normal. It's a little warm, but it's stabilizing, coming down. Everything else compares across. Secondary engine parameters, again, everything compares across. It seems about the same. Engine manual push button switch off. So the manual push button switch is off. And engine mode selector normal. Engine mode selector normal. When no other engine requires to be started manually, shuttle systems restore, SOP engine starts resume. So no more shedding systems. So yeah, anyways, that's the manual engine start. Not very different except for the fact that the motoring the engine and adding fuel are two separate procedures. That's all. Flight deck captain speaking.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go ahead with the... Alright, so starts are complete. After start checklist.
NTIs.
Is off. Off.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch stream.
Point 3 nose down. Blank percent set. Set and checked.
Radar chain.
Neutral.
After start checklist complete.
Alright. And I think we're ready to request taxi here. We'd have to talk to the apron controller to get out here. Where's my charts? Put these over here just so I got them here. So we're coming out Foxtrot. Alright. So brakes off. away we go. Clear left side.
Clear right side.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Kennedy Tower, good evening. JetBlue 601 approaching Foxtrot with information Quebec.
So it's 601 Kennedy Tower, runway 31 left, taxi via Foxtrot. Let's make it Foxtrot Zulu, cross runway 22 right at Foxtrot.
All right, we're going to taxi Foxtrot Zulu for 31 left, and we'll cross 22 right on Foxtrot. JetBlue 601.
And Kennedy Tower, good evening, Emirates 1241 on a final.
All right, I think I know what that means, but let's just have a quick
Alright,
look. So
1241 Super Kennedy
Foxtrot,
Tower, wind 30017,
and then Zulu,
just 24,
threshold.
runway 31 left,
Nice and
clear
easy.
land.
All right, so
Around
straight out
runway
Foxtrot,
31
and then as we cross the runway, bear right onto
1241.
Zulu. All right. Well, that should be a fairly short taxi out. I just see this guy has set the wrong takeoff setting because I never set it properly, so I'm going to have to stop here in a second here. So let's get across 22 right, and then we're just going to have to just pause for a second and just organize what we're doing here. So clear to cross 22 right, clear left side,
Clear right side.
so this is Zulu down here. Tower JetBlue 601. We actually have to just stop and sort something out for a moment. We okay to just stop here, clear of 22 right?
So 601, yeah, you're in a perfect spot. You can resume taxi when ready.
All right, thank you very much, JetBlue 601. Okay, we'll just stop here for a second, just because I need to reset his takeoff data, and I should have figured that out. Usually the briefing is a good trigger point for me, but I'm just not used to using FS2 Cruise. So let's just go in here and make sure that all the stuff nope, that's not it. It is... Nope, that's not it. That's the one. That's the checklist that I'm looking for. Not that clipboard, that clipboard. Radar required, pushback required. We've already done that. Config 1 plus F, and I've changed that already. Thrust reduce, complacency, takeoff runway 31 left. Let's
1038 heavy
check in
Kennedy
here,
Tower,
156,
wind
150. So I'll get some of the data, but not all the data.
Runway 31 right, clear
Thrust
land.
reduction altitude, okay. And actually thrust reduction altitude today is 1500. And it's not a PAX off takeoff. Okay, so let's do that. Perfect, okay. So we've done that. We've sort of sorted that one out there. All right, and then we can go ahead and resume taxi. We're just going to continue straight ahead down Zulu.
And Kennedy Tower, Emirates 1241, vacated 31 left. If we could request a gate at Terminal 1.
Alright,
So straight ahead on Zulu, right all the way to threshold 31 left.
November to the ramp.
Flight control check.
November,
And
straight ahead
yes.
to the ramp.
Cancel
Emirates
checklist.
1241, thanks for
Roger.
service.
Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Taxi checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flap setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. Radar and predictive VJ system.
On and auto.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
ECAM memo.
No blue. Takeoff no blue.
Taxi checklist complete.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board our
Alright, now we're doing okay.
This is the deep
Just going to have one more look over here at my Pilot's Life client. See that does know that we are taxiing, so it is working. Okay, good. All right, but we are getting underway. Got some ATC on the VATSIM network and tons of stuff to talk about when we get airborne today, so we are just about there. Frame rate seems to be kind of holding up okay, but we'll see how it goes on the takeoff roll. It's the takeoff roll that kills this aircraft. Alright. So coming to, I believe this is Juliet here, and then we're going to be pretty much at the threshold already. No, this is hotel actually, this is not quite there yet. I'm not even going to look at VPAL to see if anybody logged in. It would be nice if somebody logged in, but I'm not even going to worry about it if they don't. Alright. I gotta find a different teller because the noise on this throttle quadrant now just makes
Nation Romeo now current at Kennedy, the altimeter 2968.
2968.
Your arms around the cushion and hold onto the straps located on the back. This is a non-smoking flight. Smoking is not permitted in the cabin.
JetBlue 601 is ready for departure, 31 left.
Cabin lights will now be turned on.
601, wind 290.14, gust 23, runway 31 left, clear for takeoff.
31 left, clear for takeoff. Thanks, JetBlue 601. Got to turn off the strobe when we cross the runway, darn it. Before takeoff checklist.
Parking brake.
Cancel checklist.
Roger.
Cleared for departure.
Takeoff runway confirmed. Approach patch clear of traffic.
Lineup checklist.
Cabin crew proceeded for takeoff. Takeoff runway.
31 left, confirmed.
Runway 31 left confirmed. TCAS.
TARA.
Backs 1 and 2.
On.
Lineup checklist complete.
Command flex 65, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Takeoff. Takeoff. $100.
Thrust set.
So 1038 Heavy, welcome to Kennedy. Where are you parking tonight?
V1, rotate.
Thank you. Terminal 4.
So 1038 Heavy, continue straight
Gear
ahead,
up.
join Bravo, Terminal 4.
Gear up.
Nav.
Join Bravo to Terminal 4. Thank you.
So 601, no further ATC available. Frequency change approved. Have a great flight.
Climb, alt blue. JetBlue 601 over the dark side. Thank you so much for being on. We'll talk to you next time.
See you.
Press climb, climb. Swap com 1. Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flaps 0.
Autopilot 1. Alright, we're airborne, we're climbing. Why is the altitude set to 17,000? He did something, didn't he? I didn't even notice when he did that. I'm going to set 340 now because 360 looked like it was going to be a little bit tight on our recommended max. There's the good old Idlewild airfield down there. It still looks like an airport after. You'd think, like in a place like New York where land is at such a premium that, you know, this would be turned into something more than just some vacant land. But nope. Vacant land is all it is. I gotta say, I'm impressed. That is the nicest departure I've had in terms of frame rates. The FS2 crew kind of got a little bit behind, but in terms of the actual frame rate, that was really nice. It did not fall off at all. So we got flight level 340 set. Let's see here. And let's have a quick look at VATSIM radar, see if we got anything else online along our route. We got Kennedy Tower, and that was about it. And there's a lot of airplanes on the ground at Kennedy right now, but we are not one of them anymore. So that seems to be about it. So there's 6,000. Alright, so we are climbing, we have departed, good stuff. And it only took about an hour. It takes an hour to get this plane and going. Oh, it really does. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on in this airplane. Alright, so as we come up to Yankee here, I'm just going to go ahead and lateral discontinuity ahead, thank you. I'm going to just remove the lateral discontinuity and let it just go straight to wavy after Yankee. And, yeah, wavy MJ. And we're just going to go down the coastline here. It's not going to be actually that much to look at. It's not going to be that much more exciting. There we go, yeah, it is.
5,000 or 4,000.
Not that much more exciting than if we had, done a night flight anyways, because we're going to be looking at nothing but blue ocean. But even inside the airplane, the streaming, the codec for streaming tends to make even the inside of makes the inside of the airplane lose detail. So I tend not to like to do it. I tend not to like to stream in the dark. It's just not. It's not conducive to good streaming. In all honesty, it's not conducive to good streaming. All right. Anyways, I'm going to reset my timer there. We are definitely airborne. We'll get rid of some of those fixes there. There's 10,000. Climbing flight level 340. There's the acceleration. Seatbelts off. Alright, so he's done that. I'm going to go ahead and put airports up here. So he's done all the lights, the seatbelts. I'm going to clear all those fixes. I can see them behind us still. So I'm going to go ahead into the box here and just go fix info and clear out those CRI radials because we don't need them anymore. I should have cleared them out sooner, really. We never needed them at all. Secondary, now that we have successfully got airborne, we'll copy that over. We don't need immediate return anymore. And flight level 360, still showing 368 as the max. We might be okay at 360 with the optimal 34. So we'll see how it goes as we get airborne here. We are accelerating. We do have the guard frequency, so we'll put that up on COM 2, so we're always listening to it. Cabin is climbing at 500 feet per minute, and fuel. So we started off with 9.4, we burned 800, so that puts us at, from 8.6, that puts us at 9.4. So at this juncture, all the fuel is accounted for. So there we go, guys. We are underway on another episode of A Pilot's Life, and we are looking at arrival in Fort Lauderdale at 23:36 Zulu, so that is in 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes basically till we get to Fort Lauderdale. So not too bad. 3 hours block time. I think we'll definitely be there. We should be there by 45 with that landing time. We should be on the gate by 45. So I think we'll have an on-time arrival in Fort Lauderdale, despite leaving about 5 minutes behind schedule. So it's not too bad. The wind is definitely going to be helping us today a little bit, yeah, so anyways, that's it. We are underway, guys, for another season of A Pilot's Life, and we are coming up to the end here. I don't know how closely you saw this here. If I had this up here, I think I had the schedule up here, but this is all that remains of Season 13 is JFK to Fort Lauderdale. From Fort Lauderdale, we continue on down to Mobay, and then eventually turn around from Mobay back to JFK one more time. But I think after we reach JFK one more time, I think I'm going to pull the plug on JetBlue. And we're going to find something else to do with our pilot's life career, because I feel like it's become repetitive, and I enjoy the bus, but the route structure has just become so repetitive. We're just up and down the East Coast all the time. They're all about 2 to 3 hour flights or longer. I just feel like the structure of the route structure here has just become so repetitive that I've really lost interest in it. And I think some of you guys have as well. I think I've lost some of the streaming audience because it just seems like we're doing the same airports over and over again. So I'm hoping at least tonight we're going to have a little bit more ATC as we truck on down to Florida, but it definitely seems like it's been a little bit repetitive. So yeah, we're going to be in the market within the next couple of weeks for a new job. So I'm curious to see who's offering me jobs and what kind of salaries are they offering me here. American Airlines has offered me a job. Delta Airlines has offered me a job. Wow. Singapore Airlines, I must be special, because all of a sudden all these major airlines are offering me jobs. Fantastic. I'm not really and I want to just hit okay on this right now. I really do. I just like these are because like when you look at the route networks, and I've done American actually. I think did I do 2 seasons of American, or maybe I did the regional carrier. Huh. It's been so long, and I've done so much streaming that I'm not even sure what I've done. There's been so many flight streams, so many seasons. I know we started off with WestJet Encore. I know we did Transat. I think we did WestJet Mainline. I'm kind of like I'm a little bit honestly stumped. Just in terms of, because I've done 137 episodes of this so far. It's mind-blowing when you start to look at it. So to start right at the beginning, we did WestJet Encore for 2 seasons. Then we moved on to Transat for 2 seasons. We even did some long hauling on Transat, which that was fun. That was totally fun. And what do we do after Transat? Then we went to work for WestJet. So we did a lot of kind of Canadian stuff. Lately, we're doing all sorts of American stuff. So after Transat, or after WestJet, then we worked for SkyWest, and that was when we were using the CRJ because we were This was shortly after MSFS release, so we were trying to use the CRJ in MSFS. So we did SkyWest for 2 seasons, and then we did work for American Airlines for 2 seasons. How did I get to work for American Airlines of all the craziness? I worked for American, and I remember it, and yet it kind of like it's not something that's at the front of my mind. I worked for American Airlines for 2 seasons, seasons 7 and 8, and then after American, what did I do? I didn't come straight to JetBlue, did I? I think I went to work for... Oh, I went to work for Alaska after American. That's right. I went to work for Alaska for 2 seasons. Seasons 9 and 10, and now 11, 12, 13 were all JetBlue. So I feel like we have been very U.S.-centered, and it would be nice. I think Delta would be a fun one to go work for. There's a standard.
Let's cross check. Passing flight 215. No.
Roger. Yeah, that would be a fun one to work for again, and for that one, just the sheer volume of routes, and you know the ways you could kind of link it into, you know, not just constantly out and back, or maybe just always New York to Florida like JetBlue seems to be doing, but it's just like literally everywhere. But I think I'm just gonna disregard those, and I think we're gonna really get out of the comfort zone and go to Europe. And it's going to take me totally out of my comfort zone, and it's going to make for some very interesting streaming. But I think I'm going to do at least 1 season in Europe, see how it goes. EasyJet would be interesting. EasyJet's the 37, is it not? Or no, Ryanair's the 37. EasyJet is the 320, so a little bit of a lower salary. What am I being paid right now? I mean, I'm being paid like $67 an hour or something like that. What's my salary right now? 61. So my goal is to always have my salary increase, because I'd like to kind of pad this money. I'd like to get this up to 777 money. $4,000 I need to get the 777 here. Yeah, but Austrian Airways, that might be an interesting one to fly for. Austrian Airlines, and Lufthansa as well. Lufthansa's actually pay cut. EasyJet's a bit of a pay cut. Norwegian Air Sweden. Some curious Austrian Airlines. I wonder what good airports. And see, again, I'm looking for the short haul. So I'm looking for the 320 routes. I'm not looking to fly the 777 routes. It might be nice to have like 1 or 2 of those ready to go with a 777. But there's definitely really kind of makes Vienna look like the center of the world, doesn't it? It's not. Is it Vienna? I assume it's Vienna. It's the airport. It's the hub there. But it's definitely a mix of stage lengths, and that's what's kind of nice. It would be a very, again, out and back structure. A very, very out and back structure. You just go there, you go somewhere, you come back. You go somewhere, you come back. You go somewhere, you come back. So that would be, I find, a little frustrating because I would like something where it's like a more multi-directional network where you can go to one city, you know, lots of triangles. You can go here, go over here, come back to the hub, but come back to the hub eventually. But there really is only one hub, and that is Vienna for Austrian Airlines. So I feel like this would get repetitive quickly because every second leg would be a landing in Vienna. So you know, it's one of those like it's not bad. It definitely kind of ticks most of my boxes. It's European. There's lots of kind of medium haul flying. You know, there's 400, 300 miles. There's also 4,000 mile legs, but there's a lot of 300, 400, 500, 700 mile legs. So there's a lot of stuff here that could be very interesting. Every second leg would be back to Vienna, though, so that would be the part that would be very tough. That's why, like, something more like along the lines of EasyJet, where there's a lot of it's not so much a hub and spoke as it is just a lot of direct flights between various different cities. That might be a little bit more of an interesting. There are, of course, certain hubs. But because there are multiple hubs, you wouldn't necessarily always be constrained to go into the same airport every second leg. So it definitely has a lot more destinations, a lot more possibilities for variety. The paycheck's so low. Lufthansa, that would be a very interesting one. A little bit of a decrease in pay, but not much. I could deal with that. 48's a little bit on the low side for me, but I could definitely deal with the $58 at Lufthansa. Again, multiple hubs, lots of long-haul flying, but also a big fleet of short-haul 320, 319, 320, 321, a big Airbus short-haul fleet in Europe here. And again, multiple hubs, so like obviously the main hubs of Frankfurt and Munich. But even that would allow you to have like a little bit of variety. Yeah, you'd really be kind of in and out of those 2 hubs all the time, but that could be a very interesting one as well. Lufthansa for a couple of seasons, just to change it up. Then I'm also curious to see what's here in Norwegian Air Sweden. Now, Singapore Airlines, I got nothing against Singapore Airlines, and that's a good paycheck right there, $67 an hour. I just, you know, if I'm going to move out of my comfort zone, I'm not going to go completely out of my comfort zone into Asia. I'm going to try something that's kind of a little bit in my comfort zone. So Europe, I definitely would feel is my comfort zone still. 2 hubs for Norwegian Air Sweden. Definitely a fair bit of flying there. A lot of it's in that kind of comfort zone of like the 2-hour flights or so. Some longer stuff. And then also some stuff up to the quieter ends. I think that's Svalbard up there. Yeah, not terrible. Now I'm curious about Singapore Airlines. Do they even do much short haul? I really don't know too much about Singapore Airlines. It's not my wheelhouse. Really not. They have a handful of 37s. They have a handful of 37s for doing a little bit of this short haul stuff, but most of their stuff is much longer haul than I would necessarily be. And there is a fair bit of short haul stuff kind of into Australia, Asia, that kind of area, and that would be also very fun, very different, very out of my comfort zone. They do have some 777s as well, so really, like, that is like crazy out of my comfort zone. And is there a good, I'm pretty sure there is a good Singapore scenery for MSFS. Just trying to remember now. Imagine Sim. And Cloud Surf. So there's 2 different ones. So like you could definitely pick and choose. They don't even charge that much for their Singapore for the clouds of them. It's actually a surprisingly low price. And that also asks the question: is there a payware Vienna as well? And Gaia Simulations did make a realistic Vienna, so I don't know. I really want to take it to Europe, though. I think I've kind of made up my mind. I've kind of convinced myself, and I've been trying to for a little while now, convince myself that Europe is the way to go. It's been a little while to sort of just get my head wrapped around it, but I think it's what I want to do. I think I want to go to Europe. I think I want to. I think I want to go to Europe and try something different. Try really change it up. I'm very comfortable operating in the U.S. airspace system, in the North American airspace system. Europe and Asia would just completely challenge me in a whole other way. So I'll see what's being offered to me when I finish this season, because I got to finish the last 3 legs. Well, and we're finishing. We're T-minus 3 legs right now, so finish those last 2 legs and then see what's being offered, see what I can apply to, see what's interesting. Like I said, like 1,000 to go, Roger. And again, ticking my boxes. Like the biggest thing is like, yes, I want to be somewhere in Europe. I want short to medium haul operations, just because I don't want to do long haul. I don't want to stream for 6 to 7 hours. It's excessive. It's excessive to the point of insanity. So I don't want to do that. Let's just have a quick look in here at the prog page. 37 is the max now. I think we're actually good to go all the way up to 36. She seems to have a very healthy margin here right now. So 360 is now set. Yeah, so something that has a short haul operation. You know, it can't. It's not that it can't have a long haul operation, but I want to be able to do the short to medium haul operation. With the 320s or the 37s, either way, I'm kind of happy with either of those. And yeah, those are kind of the big ones. And then the other thing is, I'd like a route structure that generates some interest. And so for that, what I mean is I want I want an airline that has more than one hub, either a lot of point-to-point flying away from the hubs, or multiple hubs where I'm not going to be just every second flight's going to be. That's why, like Austrian, like it seemed like a really good route network, except for the fact it just has that one hub in the center. And every second flight you're going to do is going to be land in Vienna. You're going to know Vienna really well. But I feel like from a streaming perspective, after you've landed in Vienna 2 or 3 times, the remaining 2 or 3 times each season are going to get very quickly very boring, very repetitive. That's my general impression of it. Roger. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna kind of keep my eyes open. Like EasyJet is definitely a possibility. If I can get them to, if I can try to get a better job offer from EasyJet, a better salary. $48 is a little bit on the low side, and I realize that that's because they are probably what, a 2-star, 3-star carrier. Let's take away Africa, Asia, North America, South America. It's a little easier to find. EasyJet, you know, EasyJet's shown as a 3-star carrier, but like I've got 5-star carriers now that are applying to me. So, you know, it. Are there other ones out there that would be just as interesting? Oh, I'm sure there would be. I mean, even British Airways, even BA City Flyer. What does BA City Flyer fly? Is that 320 fleet as well, right? Mach Star. No, that's a 190 fleet. I don't have a 190 that I would like to fly on stream. I would like to, but it's not suitable. So, you know, Air France even, maybe, Swiss Air again. Even Lufthansa has only got like 2 main hubs. KLM, again, one. So many of these airlines are kind of just like one hub. So I'm just trying to sort of figure out what would be interesting enough. Even SAS, Scandinavian, more a long hauler than a short hauler, but why not? Yeah, fleet of 73 320 Neos, so definitely could fly some short haul across Europe, multiple hubs. So Scandinavian would be kind of like, that would definitely kind of fit a lot of my bills right there. Lots of flying across Europe, and yeah, 320, 319, 323, 330, and multiple hubs, so you wouldn't always be going back and forth to the same one hub. So that definitely would be the kind of place that would float my boat there. Same with Swiss. I could see Swiss being a really interesting one, because again, I think we can sort of have multiple hubs. We can have Geneva and Zurich, although it looks like Zurich really is the center, but you could end up with some flights to Geneva, so yeah, not impossible. I don't want to be just one in and out, out and back all the time. It just would get so repetitive so quickly. Even Air Portugal tap. And there is, yeah, there's a 320 fleet here as well, with some short haul flying across Europe, so it's not all long haul for TAP. There are definitely some possibilities, so I'll see who's kind of, you know, who's calling me up and offering me a job. I was also going to say EasyJet Europe might be a good possibility as well. Definitely multiple hubs. So this is the kind of thing that, like, I would find very interesting. Is like, it's a very tangled web of, like, you've got multiple different hubs. It's not just an out and back operation, but there's lots of point to point. So you hopefully could organize some very interesting patterns of flights across Europe. So I've really kind of set myself in my head that we're going to do that next. The next season is going to be somewhere outside of North America, outside of my comfort zone. Let's see if we can handle it. Let's see if we can get some interest again. Just because I feel like I've done so much of the same stuff, and it's been fun, and we've gone to lots of neat places. We've had ATC at various points in time. Going to bring up VATSIM radar again to see if anything's there. Nothing's there. Yeah, but at the same time, like, I feel like I've done most of it already, so I would like to change it up a little bit. I think that would be very interesting, just to learn something new. Again, my biggest concern with it in the long run is just the times that I normally stream, the ATC would be quite busy in Europe, and there wouldn't be as much time to talk, and that would be kind of a mixed bag. Like, I would be happy I would be happy to, what am I trying to say here? I'd be happy to have the ATC all the time, but at the same time, anyways, yeah. Anyways, what else can we talk about? So, I mean, there's lots going on in the world right now. We could talk about, but yeah, I think probably a lot of people have talked about this already and kind of beaten this to death. But I'd love to offer a little bit of insight, anyways, or at least a little bit of kudos to some of these things that have happened lately. Because since the last time I streamed, which was early February, my God, just like the amount of stuff that has gone on in the real world that is just it blows you away. And it really kind of makes you question this whole business, this whole aviation business. It really is. And of course, there's some spam in my channel already. Da, 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 da. Way to report spam? I thought that was. And it's just using. Trying to report stuff to Twitch so that people get hopefully stop sending the stupid spam messages. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I think it was a couple days after my last stream, or a week after my last stream, that there was, of course, the incident in Toronto that everyone has seen now. Everyone has seen, has heard, and probably has ventured opinions about. I don't want to venture too many opinions about anything because that's for the Transportation Safety Board to determine what the cause of the accident is. I will say this: like, kudos to the cabin crew first of all for maintaining their composure and getting everybody off that airplane in a very quick fashion, especially considering what a disorienting experience that must have been to end up upside down, disorienting for absolutely everybody. But kudos to the cabin crew for keeping their heads, doing their jobs, and you know, I shouldn't have to say kudos to them for doing their jobs, but kudos to them for doing their jobs, doing it well, because I will say this, like, flight attendants are often unappreciated. The cabin crew is often so unappreciated. You know, pilots get all the credit, but the cabin crew is an important part of any airline team, and without the cabin crew, you know, the safety of the flight could definitely be in jeopardy any day. And this is one of those things that does blow my mind. It kind of takes me on a little bit of a tangent, but one of the things that does blow my mind is the fact that cabin crew are not subject to any kind of duty day or duty rest limitations like pilots are. Pilots, there's very strict rules on exactly how long you can work for, how long you need to sleep before you can go back to work again, etc., how many days off you need every month. Cabin crew have none of that. And that kind of blows me away because they may not be necessarily doing as much directly flying the airplane, but in any kind of a serious situation, an evacuation or an emergency type situation, they have an important role to play in getting passengers out. And if the flight attendant has been awake for 16 or 18 hours and is on their 5th flight of the day, how alert are they going to be? How ready are they going to be to perform that evacuation? And maybe the adrenaline will get going, but if you're tired, you make mistakes. Everyone does. It's a fact of life. The more tired you are, the more likely you are to make mistakes. So the fact that the only protections flight attendants might get sometimes is whatever's worked into their union contract, that still blows my mind to this day. You know, I think you know, and I think the airlines sell their staff short in that respect, because anyone who does the job knows that it is a safety job. There is a big safety role to play. Yes, there's a big customer service aspect to the job, but the primary purpose for flight attendants to be in an airplane is the safety role. The service role is secondary to the safety role. So why, you know, why is it that pilots can only work so long before they're considered unfit to fly, but flight attendants can literally work 24-hour days and nobody cares? That blows me away, and I think that needs to change. As long as they are an important safety role, that they need to, you know, their rest needs to be considered. And I'm not saying that maybe they don't need it as strict as pilots, because maybe they're not working as hard as pilots in terms of making life or death decisions in most of the time, but I certainly, if I was in that Delta plane, I would want to know that my flight attendant was on hour 19 or hour 21 of her day, on her 5th flight of the day. I would like to think that she was at least reasonably well rested and ready to handle whatever situation happened, and that was a completely unexpected situation. It was a normal landing, and all of a sudden it wasn't. And how fast you have to gather your wits, and yes, I know flight attendants do silent reviews all the time, and they are always prepping for the worst and hoping for the best, but prepping for the worst. But still, it blows me away that they are not a group that is considered to be so safety essential that their rest periods need to be in any way regulated or restricted from being overworked. And hand in hand with that, the other group that blows me away that does not have those kind of protections as well is aviation mechanics. And yes, they may not have a safety role in the same way the pilots do, where, you know, you're landing in a crosswind, in a 30-knot crosswind in a snowstorm on a slippery runway or anything like that, but they still have an important job to play as well. And so, and I think, you know, to say that they should be allowed to work tired, I think I think the fallacy of it is obvious. They may not directly be making those important safety decisions, but every step that they take and every task that they perform directly affects safety in the industry. And this actually takes me down to another really interesting incident here. So let's just have a quick look if I can see. let's see if I can find. So there was a picture. Just trying to find it. I kind of thought about this, and then I didn't. Let's see if I can find it here. I'm just trying to find the picture. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't sure how I was going to actually talk about this, and then it just sort of I led right into it. So I'm trying to find this picture here because there is a picture from the NTSB's report on this crash. Let me see if I can find the actual NTSB report. But all I keep finding are news articles about it. Cannot find the preliminary report. Hold on. Yeah. So basically what happened, and for those of you that didn't hear about this, this was on February 10th. Scottsdale, Arizona, a Learjet veered off the runway on landing and collided with a Challenger. So here's some excerpts from the NTSB's report. So there we go. So this is what happened. The Learjet landed on the runway here in Scottsdale, and on landing, the left gear collapsed in the aircraft. Because the gear collapsed, the aircraft basically was uncontrollable, veered across the that's not really grass, but across the field there, across the taxiway, and hit this Challenger. And I believe that the pilot, I think there was only one pilot on board the Learjet, was killed by the impact with the Challenger because it was still moving at a fairly substantial speed at the moment of impact. What the preliminary report has found is that the landing gear collapsed most likely due to a lack of maintenance. Not a lack of maintenance, and I'm sorry, that's not the right term, but due to some maintenance that was performed improperly. And so this is the picture that basically kind of belies what happened here. This was an airborne picture that happened to be taken of this aircraft on approach. And look at the landing gear. The left landing gear here is tilted way back. It is not correctly down. You can see this is a picture above of a normal landing in this aircraft, and this is what the gear normally looks like. It's straight up and down pretty much. They flip in and out of the wings, so it comes down and it's straight down. And you can see this one here, it's trailing way back, but apparently to look at this picture, most likely the Learjet pilot thought that the gear was down. He most likely had 3 green lights indicating that the gear was successfully down. And why? Because the way the Learjet's designed, as long as the inner gear door, so there's these inner gear doors, so the inner gear door comes down, the landing gear comes down, and then the inner gear door goes back up to reduce drag. As long as that inner door goes all the way back up, it touches the sensor and sets off the 3 green lights. So apparently this pilot thought he had 3 good gear, but as you can see from the picture, he definitely did not. This gear was just hanging out the back there. So as soon as he hit the ground, it just completely gave out. It fell off the airplane and was found separately on the, I'm not sure if that was the runway or the taxiway. But yeah, and so what happened, what they determined is that it was not reassembled properly. So several flights before, there was a hard landing, and which was reported by the pilots, taken into maintenance, and the inspection for the hard landing for this landing gear is that you take the landing gear off the airplane and you perform some continuity checks on it to make sure that there's no damage, there's no crack in the frame of the landing gear. So they did that, they did all the testing was successful. They went to put the landing gear back on. However, when they put the landing gear back on, it was reassembled incorrectly. So let's see if I can find the best way to kind of show this here. But basically, this is the top of the landing gear here. This is the pin that holds it onto the spar. So the wing spar is part of the frame of the wing, so it goes through the wing spar and then into the landing gear. And then there's this retaining bolt that passes through the landing gear, landing gear frame passes through this bolt and keeps this pin in place so that it can pivot around the pin. What they determined happened was that when this was reassembled, the pin was not pushed in far enough. So the pin was pushed part of the way in, and then when they pushed the retaining bolt in, instead of the retaining bolt going through the pin, and I've seen this diagram, but instead of the retaining bolt going through the pin, the retaining bolt, the pin was not pushed in far enough, and the retaining bolt was just right in front of the pin. So it never actually passed through the pin. So the retaining bolt, the pin was actually free to come back out again, even though the retaining bolt was in, because the retaining bolt never went actually through the pin. And amazingly, this aircraft went flying for several flights. I don't know the exact number. I'm not sure if it's mentioned here in the report, but this airplane went flying for several flights before the accident flight, before the pin slipped all the way out and the gear just started dangling behind from the airplane. Point being, the real, and it's a long way, it's an interesting accident report. This is just a preliminary report. It's not a final report by any means, but it's an interesting report. But the crux of this is that, this was maintenance that was performed incorrectly, and it was all done correctly until this one point in the reassembly that did not go correctly. And you've got to think about that. Like, I think about that from a pilot's perspective. Like, we do lots of things every day as a pilot, and every once in a while you do something not correctly, something's not quite right. Hopefully your coworker notices you. Hopefully the airline procedures, you'll recheck that item and you'll catch it at some point and you'll say, I made a mistake there. I put the wrong waypoint in, or I put the wrong speed in, or something. I put the wrong value in there, or I turned the wrong way, something. I set some switch incorrectly. Hopefully I will notice it and something in the plane will prompt me to fix it. In this case, nothing prompted this guy to fix it. He just simply, and actually when the NTSB did talk to him, he actually did say the one thing that kind of I thought was a little bit odd was it seemed to take a lot more grease than usual to glue up this fitting. So after you put it together, you're supposed to slip grease into the, slip some grease into the grease. There's a hole for putting grease into it, so that way it stays lubricated every time the gear comes up and down. It's not metal on metal, obviously. It's nice and lubricated, and it slides. It rotates nicely and easily. And he said he thought it was unusual, the amount of grease that it took that day, but didn't ask any questions any further. And I'm not trying to throw this mechanic under the bus, because we all make mistakes. We're all human beings and we can all make mistakes. My point in this is that I don't know the circumstances of how this mechanic was working, if he was familiar with this, if he's done this job before, if it was the start of the day, if he was under any pressure, if it was late in the day, if it was dark and late at night, if hadn't had enough coffee. I don't know any of those circumstances, but you've got to certainly say to yourself that airline mechanics who often work the night shift, because most of the time the airplanes are flying during the day, and then at night they all pull up at their airports, and then that's when the mechanics get their crack at them, is all night long. So most of the time, mechanics are either, their mechanics are usually divided into two groups. There's the line mechanics and the maintenance mechanics. So the line mechanics are simply running around from airplane to airplane at the airport, resetting systems, refilling oxygen bottles, maybe even changing tires, but doing like the very quick day-to-day jobs that just get the airplane back out the door. And I've been told this, that line maintenance has one job, and that is to move airplanes out the door. And not to move airplanes out the door, but to depart airplanes, to get airplanes back in the air. So line maintenance will do whatever they have to do. If it's defer a system that has an MEL, they'll do it. If it's if it's a system reset, whatever they can do to get that airplane up and running again until it can be scheduled to come in the hangar. And then the maintenance mechanics work in the hangar usually during the overnight hours, fixing these things that are broken there. Especially narrow-body, short-haul aircraft usually come back every night, and they have several hours in the hangar before they have to go out and do another flight in the morning. So these guys are often working late nights on the backside of the clock, trying to do these tasks that have, like, who knows how many steps. If you've ever seen a maintenance manual, and nobody sees them anymore because now they're all just online, nobody prints them anymore, but maintenance manuals used to be huge. Like, you thought pilots had big manuals. Mechanics have absolutely gigantic manuals, step-by-step, how to change every part on the airplane. But it has to make you question. If these guys are coming to work tired, and not that I'm saying that anyone is intentionally doing so, but just because of the nature of the hours they're expected to work, maybe they had a hard day, maybe they couldn't sleep because their kid is sick, who knows? Could be any number of reasons, but maybe they're a little bit tired when they show up to work and they miss one step. And that one step could lead to something bad happening. So, you know, there's no legal limitation on how long a mechanic can work. Maybe there should be. Maybe we should have some limitations on how long mechanics can work for, because they have an important safety role. Next to pilots, I think they are probably the most important people at an airline, because without them, the airplanes will just simply not get back up in the air. They are a highly skilled, highly trained workforce that is usually underpaid, underappreciated, and expected to work at the worst possible hours and do their job perfectly every single time. And I certainly hope they do, but I just think we need to support them more and provide them some, for lack of a better word, legislative backing to, what am I trying to say here? Legislative backing, set some fatigue rules in place, like you must get this much rest, you can't work more than these number of hours without a suitable rest period. Just to make sure that they are working at their optimum as much as possible and minimize the chance of making mistakes. It blows me away that like everyone's so concerned about pilots and how much rest they get. These mechanics are holding these airplanes together, and one thing put back in the wrong order, a slight slip, and it could be deadly. And I'm not trying to throw that Learjet mechanic under the bus. I am sure he did the best job he could. Came to work intending to do the best job he could, and I can only imagine. People always say pilots have a macabre sense of humor, but the one advantage to being a pilot is if there's a plane crash, chances are you will not live to see the outcome of it. Whereas that mechanic now has to live with the knowledge of what happened for the rest of his life. Whether he can even walk into a hangar and fix another airplane, turn another wrench for the rest of his life, knowing that through his mistake, somebody died. How do you live with yourself? How can you live with yourself in that case? And again, I'm not trying to say that in a bad way. I'm trying to just sympathize with him. It's like it's a horrible position to be in, and I feel great sympathy for the mechanics that fix these airplanes. Often snags with very little descriptions. You know, airplane handles a little rough, engine sounds a little noisy. You know, where do you even start? And then trying your best as a mechanic to do your best every time to try and find and solve these problems and fix these things, and just and I'm sure by about 4 or 5 a.m. you're just looking forward to going home. So, anyways, I feel a lot of sympathy for that particular mechanic who unfortunately now has to live with the results of that mistake for the rest of his life. But I feel great sympathy for the mechanics as a whole. I think that they are a fantastic group of guys and gals that are very much the unsung heroes, I think, of every airline, more than any other group, because the passengers never see them. They are so integral to passenger safety, but the passengers never ever see them. Unless something's broken on an airplane, they're like, oh, why is maintenance here? I'm trying to look into fix it. Anyways, yeah. So that was kind of my one diatribe, and that was kind of a real long tangent off from that Delta Airlines incident, which is alone, and it wasn't Delta, it was Endeavour. Delta Regional Connection, I'm pretty sure it was Endeavour. Yeah, that was a scary incident to watch, and the fact that everyone got out of that one is just simply a sheer miracle. Never mind the impact it had on everybody else in Canada that day, just because of the sheer interconnectedness of the aviation industry. But just first of all, what a absolutely blessed miracle that all those people made it out alive. There were, I guess, a couple of fairly serious injuries. There was apparently an infant, I believe, that was being held on somebody's lap that was apparently the most serious injury. And this whole, like, as long as you hold your baby on your lap, it's fine in aviation attitude that we've had for the last 50 years, I think we're beginning to really wake up to the fact that maybe this is not so good. You know, maybe we should be insisting on car seats for everybody. And maybe do the airlines have an obligation to provide an appropriate seat if the passenger is not bringing one? You know, I'm not saying there's a yes or a no answer to this, a right or wrong answer at this point, but I think that certainly this is going to force the TSB and the NTSB to look very seriously at the issue of unrestrained infants in the cabin, and you know, putting your arms around your baby and holding them on your lap is not an effective restraint system when you're talking about the kind of G-forces you're going to see in a crash, even a survivable crash. The kind of G-forces you could potentially see. it's not a great situation. So, anyways, I've seen the videos of this accident from the flight deck of the other airplane, the business jet that was there at the threshold runway, and it looks like such a normal approach. And then I've seen the other data as well, the ADS-B data. Everything looked pretty normal. It was a gusty wind that day. There was definitely a gusty crosswind that day, but well within the aircraft's limits. And the airplane was very stable. There were some early rumors that the airplane was not stable on the approach and everything, and all the data seems to play out that the airplane was on a fairly stable approach pattern. The ground speed was very consistent, the descent rate was very consistent. There were some variations, and that's not unusual on a gusty day, but it's not to say that they were screaming in at a high rate of speed or trying to catch the glide slope or anything like that. They were overall in a very stable flight configuration until the very last minute. And then if you look at the data, the very last ADS-B data hit before the impact, the rate of descent had increased again quite substantially. It was a fairly steady 3 degrees glide slope all the way down, and then just pretty much as they are over the threshold of the runway, you suddenly see quite a bit of an increase in the rate of descent. And it's very noticeable. They're quite a bit lower than the rest of the stable approach. So was there some wind shear at the last moment that really put the airplane into a bad place, took most of the lift away from the wings? You know, if they were coming in expecting a certain gust and then the gusts were just higher than expected, they were not carrying enough extra speed. You know, just a freak moment where the wind variation was higher than expected, and that caused an increase in sink rate. And unfortunately, in a jet, you can't easily arrest the sink rate. You can do a little bit of a pitch up, but you can't pitch up too far. You really need power, and that power takes time in a jet. And maybe they didn't have enough time to react. Maybe they were more concerned with the crosswind than the descent profile itself. I don't know. You know. The other thing, and several of my friends expressed similar sentiments, is the social media reactions afterwards, and the blame the pilots. And you know, it's not that I'm not saying don't blame the pilots because I'm a pilot, but all these wild, unsubstantiated accusations that came out shortly thereafter were just ridiculous. Oh, you know, the pilots had failed training exercises. The pilots had failed training exercises. The guy didn't flow through to Delta, so he must have failed his training exercises. And it's like he didn't want to. He was actually a trainer on that airplane. He had been at the company for 8 years. He wasn't new to the airplane. He had never failed a check ride. And he didn't float at Delta because maybe he liked the airline he was working for. There's various reasons. Everyone thinks everyone wants to work at the big airlines, and a lot of people do, but there's lots of different ways to make a living in aviation. And as a trainer, even at a smaller airline, you definitely get a big pay premium, a decent pay premium over just the regular line pilots. But the other thing is maybe he's got seniority, maybe the base is where he likes, maybe he's based where he likes, he's close to home. There could be any number of reasons that make a pilot want to stay at one airline as opposed to going to one where there's a higher paycheck. Higher paychecks are nice, but they're not the only thing in life, as most pilots will learn at some point in their career. The paycheck's not the only thing. The paycheck's great, but what's your quality of life to get that paycheck? Are you at the bottom of a list, working reserve, getting called, short call all the time? Are you based in a city that you don't even live in, so you don't even see your family when you're on reserve because you have to be at your base? So you're at a crash pad trying to sleep, hoping for a long pairing just so that you don't have to come back to the crash pad for several days, hoping to go back to your family eventually after your reserve is over. You know, what's quality of life worth to you? And quality of life is not inconsequential. It really is. Like, having a good quality of life is worth a lot of paycheck right there. And a lot of people will give up a big pay increase to have a nicer quality of life with their family, more time with their family, have higher seniority so they can get better vacation, better days off, better schedule overall. So maybe that's why. And I don't know. It's up to each person to determine what's going to be best for them. But the fact that he didn't move on from Endeavour to Delta does not necessarily mean he's a bad pilot. It just means he made choices. He may have been forced to make choices for his family. He may have voluntarily made choices for his family. There may be nothing altogether to do with it. Maybe he just doesn't like Delta. Who knows? But maybe he likes being a trainer and wants to stay as a trainer. Maybe he likes the CRJ. Maybe he really likes the CRJ. Who knows? But all this idle speculation without any basis. The fact that the CEO of the company had to come on the internet and say, this is all untrue. Go do your homework, but don't believe what you read on Facebook, TikTok, etc., etc., etc. It's just, yeah, frustrating. And then there was even the ones that are like, oh, the woman pilot was flying. There were actually social media posts that went down. I don't even want to dignify them with a response. Just, I said, just to roll my eyes and just think to myself, like, what year is this? A person's gender has no bearing whatsoever on their ability to fly an airplane. No bearing whatsoever. There are plenty of women who are great pilots. There are plenty of men who are great pilots. There are plenty of men who cannot fly an airplane to save their life, and plenty of women who can't do that either. But to throw that out there as that's the reason the crash happened just blows me away. Just absolutely blows me away. And I think my brother summed it up best, and I think I mentioned this already once, but I think he summed it up best, that there have always been stupid people in this world. We just never gave them a platform like social media has given them a platform before. It used to be you had to have a reasonable level of intelligence to be able to get on television, into the newspaper, to get your ideas and thoughts in front of millions and tens of millions of people. Now all you need is a phone and 30 seconds of your time to post something on Twitter or YouTube. And I realize the irony that I'm saying this on YouTube, but yeah, it's just so frustrating to deal with this, and my heart goes out to those pilots. I certainly hope that I feel like Delta and Endeavour have probably taken care of them. Delta is an airline that definitely takes care of its employees, so I feel like that they will definitely get the support that they need from their employer, which is good, because there's, Lord knows they're not going to get it out there on the internet. Anyways, so there was that. There was that Delta Airlines, and then there was this incident in Midway with Southwest, and this was literally 24 hours after I was in Midway. I think it was like 22 hours after I was in Midway that this incident happened in Midway, and probably most of you have seen the video now of this near miss where the Southwest airplane went around. Thank goodness they did, because this it looked like, I don't even remember now, it was Citation or just some business jet taxied right across the runway in front of them as they're landing. And thank goodness that somebody there was looking outside, was paying attention to what they're doing, and just doing the job, just going around. Okay, there's an airplane taxiing across the runway we're landing on. That's it, go around. And that's your job. You want to have 2 alert pilots in the front of every flight deck to make sure that somebody's looking outside and these things happen, and you don't even have to question it. You're just like, nope, okay, if somebody crashes across the runway, I don't even care if they are in the wrong and we're in the right, we're just going to go around and come back and do this again. And then you go and you listen to the ATC audio, and the ATC audio is, it's shocking, but it's not. And by that I mean it's shocking the complete casualness of the interaction prior to this runway incursion, and yet knowing the way some people treat aviation, it's not terribly shocking, unfortunately. So I've listened to the audio. I'm not going to play it back just because, just for licensing reasons, but if you go to Vast Aviation, they have Vast Aviation's YouTube channel. They've got the live ATC excerpt and the diagrams of where the aircraft are taxiing and everything. But the casualness with which the business jet reads back its instructions incorrectly, is corrected, and then reads them back a second time, this time correctly, but just so casually, and then does it anyways. So, I don't know if it's a case of expectation bias or just simply not recognizing the risk, but like, you were told to hold short of this runway, you read it back incorrectly, and the guy came again and he said, hold short of this runway. And you said, okay, I will hold short of that runway. The very fact that I could almost get it. Hayden, hey, much love from the UK, keep Canada free. Well, thank you very much. The King and the Prime Minister haven't really supported us too much, but I appreciate that. Yeah, the casualness with which he said his read back the second time, but the fact that, like, if he'd gotten it right the first time and it was so casual, I almost could understand more, but the fact that the controller had to come back and very clearly and very sternly correct him and say, no, you're crossing 3-1 left, you're holding short of 3-1 center. And then he read it back a second time, a little bit more seriously, and then he just taxied along and just right across that runway without even realizing what he'd done. just, it blows you away, but it's not totally unexpected because some people take this business very casually, and I have to say it again because I've said it before and I will say it again, that the second you let your guard down in aviation, this business will kill you. It will absolutely kill you because there are just 1,000 things that can go wrong every day that will kill you, and people, when you do it day in and day out over and over again, you just get used to it and you just become numbed to and desensitized to that notion that it can kill you. And I think part of it too stems into the fact that we've managed to keep the system so safe in North America for so long means that people are not used to looking for those things to kill you. And I see this in the younger generations of pilots coming in, and especially those that move up into the airlines very quickly, and they go from a very small airplane to a very big airplane very quickly. They miss that building the experience at smaller companies with lesser safety nets, and they miss that whole. They miss really truly learning that concept that this business will kill you. And you end up with people who sort of like, yeah, I know I could die in an airplane, etc. And they really can't, but they not really think about it. They're not looking for ways for the airplane to kill them every day. And that's where we start to run into these problems. It used to be people, before they could get into an airline, would have to fly some kind of a bush-type job for 5 or 10 years, whether it's flying medevacs, whether it's flying bush planes up north, delivering cargo to remote bases, survey work, something where you're usually flying old airplanes, with very loose SOPs, very little oversight, and there's a good chance at some point that you're going to scare the living bejesus out of yourself and do something that almost kills you. And it's not that I think that people should almost kill themselves, but it's usually when that happens in everybody's career, at some point they realize how close they came to killing themselves at some point, that they kind of have that wake-up call, and they learn to always be on guard for that danger. And I find, like, this generation, like, it blows me away the number of times, like, and it doesn't happen very often, maybe 5%, if even that, of the population, but the number of people who, like, you get through 10,000 feet and boom, out comes the phone. And I'm like, and I look over and I'm like, really? Like, we're still climbing, we're still talking to the radio, we're still flying the airplane. What are you really doing on your phone right now that is more important than flying this airplane? But just the sheer, I don't know if it's the sheer boredom of it or what, but like that again, I find it's just like they're not looking for the ways the airplane's going to kill you. The mistakes made by ATC, the airplanes that are not where they're supposed to be, the systems that are maybe drifting from where they're supposed to be. They're just not monitoring the situation because they're not expecting the airplane to kill them. But you gotta always be looking for the ways the airplane wants to kill you, and not just the airplane, but everything in this business. And I hope that attitude is going to keep me safe for years, but I worry for the future when some of these people, like some of these, 10,000 feet, seatbelts off, phone out people are going to be, in command of these aircraft. What kind of a discipline level they're going to set? I hope they're going to set a higher discipline level than they are setting for themselves right now, because it's not a large percentage of people, but it's a large enough percentage that, again, people who I think that they just expect because they're working at a major airline and they're flying an advanced airliner, that there's nothing out there that can kill you. They'll all be controlled by AI then. Yeah. Maybe. Anyways, it's the casualness that some people treat this business with that I think is part of the root cause. And then you add on top of that Elon Musk. We got to cut this FAA. What do we need people who make charts for? People who make charts aren't any good. We've already charted everything. It's not like anything ever changes in aviation. We'll get rid of the people who make charts. We'll get rid of the people who fix the radar systems. I'll answer that in 1 second. But we'll get rid of the people who fix the radar systems, and we'll just get, or we'll lay off like half the people. Why do we need 500 people fixing radar systems in the U.S.? Why don't we just have 100 people fixing radar systems in the U.S.? Well, then they're all going to be doing 5 times as much work. And it's a constant problem in government where, yes, and I will absolutely stipulate to the fact that there is waste and inefficiency in most government bureaucracy. There is, 100%. But especially when you come in top line looking for a number, saying that anybody who has a job here is inefficient, is wasteful, that I don't think that could be true. I don't think everybody in the government's a waste of money. Like, it just blew me away. Like, the whole idea, like, everyone in the U.S. government has to justify their jobs. You get like an air traffic controller. Justify your job. I want to hear 5 things you did last week. Well, I didn't let these 2 airplanes hit each other. I didn't let these 2 airplanes hit each other. Why would you even ask them to justify your jobs? But apparently the FAA has now stood up and said that we're actually not going to lay off as many people as we are being told to by the Department of Government Efficiency, because we need those people. They fill safety roles. Just because they're not actually flying the airplanes doesn't mean they're not actually fulfilling a safety role. Charting is important. Maintaining the equipment we have is important. We can't just have less people maintain the equipment. That means the equipment's going to break more often. What's going to happen when the equipment breaks? We're going to have chances for accidents. I don't even want to get too far into politics, but just the whole notion that that just because someone's on probation means that they must not have been necessary as an employee, and we're just going to fire them instantly. Just the whole concept, it just blows me away. It's just, if you want to find inefficiency, by all means. And we've done that here in Canada too. We've had governments that have been elected with the idea that, the government's full of waste. I've seen this and I've seen this, and there's billions of dollars of waste in the government. And most of the time they go looking and they don't find it. Because, yes, there is waste in the government, but it's usually not nearly to the scale that people think it is. They find a few examples, and all of a sudden they assume because they found a couple of examples that the whole rest of the government must function the same way, and it's all wasteful. And we're going to save billions of dollars a year, and we're going to pay for your tax cuts with those billions of dollars of savings because we're not going to be wasting that money anymore. It's like, it's not really how it works. Or the other thing is to come in with a top-line number. Apparently, I think the Medicaid program has been told that they have to shave $880 billion off their program. And it's like, you can't come in and say, if you don't immediately cut your budget by this much, there must be waste in the system. That's not how you find waste. You look for the waste, you go look for redundancies, you remove those, but you don't go in with a top-line number and say you must save X number of dollars in order to be an efficient operation. That's not how you find waste. That's how you just cut a program. Anyways, now I've gone into politics and I didn't even mean to, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, the whole idea, and then of course, you get Elon Musk now wants to sell Starlink units to all the FAA facilities and all the ATC facilities and link them all with Starlink. And if that isn't the biggest conflict of interest, first of all. But the second thing is, like, you can't just go and install these things overnight. Like, there is, when you're dealing with safety-related systems, there's a vetting process. There's a process in place because we can't do these things instantly. We need checks and balances in there. We need to make sure that the system is reliable enough. The level of reliability that a typical Silicon Valley company needs is not the level of reliability you need in the U.S. airspace system. The U.S. airspace system needs to have a 99.99999% uptime. 99.9 is not good enough. We need a reliable system, and we need to prove it before we use it, not after we use it and then like, oh yeah, you know what, it wasn't as reliable as we thought, too bad. Anyways, it's frankly, honestly becoming a scary notion to fly in the U.S. It's becoming that way, and it's not because of the number of accidents, but because of the systematic dismantling of the safety system. The air traffic control system is already overworked and understaffed in the United States with the number of flights it's handling. And they want to just cut the budget even more, cut the number of people fixing the system, maintaining the system, and then keep our fingers crossed that it's not going to cause even more accidents. Just absolutely, it blows me away, and it really does honestly worry me for the future of the United States air traffic control system. I am honestly worried every time I think about going to the U.S. for that. For wondering how far have they cut and how much, when are the safety critical systems going to suddenly fail? Anywho, what do I think of the 1,500-hour rule in the U.S.? I do have mixed emotions about it, and I'll frame it this way as well, because hours do not equal experience. That being said, hours are simply one of the best tools we can use to measure experience, because there's no way to say that this person has the experience we need and this person does not. You don't know what experience that person's going to need in their career. What you know, you look at as an interesting examination, if you ever read Sully's book, but Sully's book was really interesting because his memoir took a whole bunch of different things that happened in his career prior to the Miracle on the Hudson. A couple dozen different events and things that kind of made him the pilot who he is, and all those things came together, all that experience came together and gave him the knowledge and the skill set he needed to successfully navigate an outcome from that situation. Not every pilot would have had the same skill set. Maybe they would have had a different skill set. Would they have still been able to have a successful outcome? It's hard to say for certain. But again, it comes down to, like, how do you measure a lifetime of experience? And how do you say, is this person more experienced than that person because he's done this or done that? So, yeah, absolutely. If you have not listened to Sully's book or read Sully's book, it's really a really good book. If you're at all into aviation, it's a good book. He dumbs it down enough. He keeps it technical enough that pilots will be interested in it and will be able to follow along, but he also provides some explanations and dumbs it down a little bit to allow anybody to read it. So, but it's a really good book, just a really interesting analysis into what a pilot's career has been and how he happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right skill set. But yeah, again, back to the 1,500-hour rule. I think the intention of the rule is good. The idea is that there certainly needs to be a certain minimum level of experience before you get into an airliner. That being said, again, like I said, the hours do not equal good experience. You can have 1,500 hours as a flight instructor, only flying day VFR for 1,500 hours, and then you're good to go into a CRJ. From a legal perspective, do you have the experience you should have? No, obviously not. You don't have experience in bad weather, making tough choices when you kind of have a limited number of options. You don't have much IFR experience. So it's hard to measure that. I mean, even the best airline company could look at two resumes and say, well, this guy has 1,000 hours at company A and this guy has 1,000 hours at company B. This guy did night cargo. This guy did medevac. Which guy has the better experience? Which guy is more relevant? Has more relevant experience to our situation? It's hard to know. Well, this guy has 100 hours more than the other guy, so we think he's more experienced. Again, like I said, like that, hours do not necessarily equal experience, but there's no other way to measure it. It's the only practical way we really have to actually measure experience, so it's the best tool we have, even though it's a terrible tool. So that being said, I think the 1,500-hour rule is not a bad rule. I think the spirit and intention of the rule is good. Like any rule, I think people can kind of sidestep it and bypass it if they really try. There are ways to get 1,500 hours without doing anything very exciting in aviation. You can just tool around, do circuits for 1,500 hours in a 150 if you go buy a 150 and just put your own time and money into it, and then you're not going to be ready for an airline. But again, like there's, how else would you do it? How else would you really do it? I mean, mandating some kind of extra training, sure, but you can't require a person to have a number of experiences. The pilots in the crash that led to the rule change both had well over 1,500 hours. Yeah, and in this case, yeah, it's again, that was a case of, I think the industry was just killing people through sheer unwillingness to pay them anything. I mean, the $22,000 a year or whatever the FO made was absolutely laughable. And then based in Newark, how is anyone supposed to live anywhere close to Newark on $22,000 a year? It's just that was a joke, and I think that says something for the airlines right there. Yeah, do I think that the Colton crash would not have happened if they'd had 1,500 hours? No, but again, should we require a certain level of experience before we get in there? Yeah, I think at the time, I think it was $22,000 a year the FO was being paid or something like that. Maybe it was $26,000. Like, it was, and she's based in Newark. even the captain didn't even have a crash pad. I think she had a Did she have a crash? No, I think she had just come in that day. I think the captain had been at the airport for like 24 hours. He didn't have a crash pad either, so he was just basically camping out in the crew room, sleeping in the crew room because he had nowhere else to sleep. Who can afford to live in the New York City area on that kind of a salary? So it's, yeah, would it have prevented that crash? No, but do I think it's a good rule? I think it's not a bad thing to require more experience. I mean, there's a limit to how much you can require. And like I said, you can't really measure how much experience someone has. Are you going to go out there and say, well, unless they've nearly killed themselves at least 3 times, you know, during the past 1,500 hours, they haven't learned enough. Like, how do you sit there and judge that experience, judge that attitude? You have to basically hope that the attitude is going to come through, because that's what really is going to, I think at the end of the day, save your life is the attitude you take towards aviation. Do you really do a meticulous job every time to try and do your absolute best and not forget anything and cross all the T's and dot all the I's? Or do you just like, I think I know the procedures, let's hop in and fire it up and go. And we'll kind of figure it out as we go along. And you can't, I don't think you can teach that attitude. If people don't come in here wanting to have that attitude, I don't think you can teach it. You can try and educate people about why they need to have that attitude, but I don't think you can teach that attitude. Anyways, that's, yeah, the Colgan one was a tough one too, for sure. That was not an easy incident to look at, but yeah, I can still remember if that was, what, 2011, 2010, 2011? It was just a little bit of the time before I started flying the Dash 8, so it was still very fresh in everyone's mind when I started flying the Dash 8. Yeah, bad place to be. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, I think we've talked enough about beaten enough about aviation and all of its fantastic joy that is the U.S. right now. But let's try and talk about other stuff, because I can't even read my own notes. I wrote a note here and I can't even read my own note. Oh, hilarious. Yeah, but there was some other stuff that happened recently. So, looking over into the world of flight simulation instead, which hopefully is a little nicer. Yeah, I am actually. Thank you, Hayden, UK, for asking. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Life is busy. That's why I'm trying to get these streams in when I can, and like it's a twice a month kind of thing at best now. I remember when I used to do like one a week, and it's not happening at that rate anymore. Kids are off all next week, so I'm going to be trying to find ways to entertain them. So I'm definitely not going to be streaming next week. So it'll be another week at least after that before it'll be at least another 2 weeks before I find time for another pilot stream anyways. But yeah, life's okay. It's just busy, and I hope life's going okay with you. It's always busy. Yes, my hometown is Toronto. I do live in the Toronto area, so it is what it is. I've just grown up in this area. I have family, friends around here, so I'm very comfortable and happy here. It is very expensive to live here at this time. Fortunately, we managed to find a place before the price of real estate absolutely went insane the last decade. But yeah, I couldn't afford to buy my house today if I tried. I don't think I could afford to buy it right now. It's insane what people are asking for their homes, and it's, yeah, the housing market in Canada needs a little bit of a reset. But I've read some things recently that kind of indicate like there's so many structural problems in it, and there's so many requirements that make the cost of building new buildings so high. It's like we may be in for, you know, we may take like 20 or 30 years to undo the structural problems that exist. And yes, BC is also super expensive, although I think Toronto surpassed it. BC traditionally was very expensive. Vancouver used to be very expensive all the time. And then in the last decade, Toronto kind of surpassed it. It's like, okay, now you think your house prices are crazy? Well, hold my beer and watch this. Just absolutely through the roof. And BC's not great either. But Toronto just absolutely went insane in the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. Just absolutely insane. And then everyone's like, oh, you know, well, I expect it to continue forever. And it's like, you see this hockey stick on a graph, you know, it's like, you got to ask yourself, like, if it's way above the long-term trend, do I really honestly believe that's sustainable? And everyone just said, yeah, it's sustainable. Everyone's got $1 million to spend on a house in Toronto. And it's like, no, it's just, at some point, the bottom's going to fall out of it. There's not going to be enough people in the market. The investors kind of got out. There used to be a lot of investors in the condo market. They all got out. So the condo market's not doing well, but even the what am I trying to say here? Even like the fully detached homes, the market is it's good, but it's not going up anymore. It's gone down a fair bit, and there's some people that unfortunately are losing their shirts. But then I always find it funny when like you try to make a sob story out of someone who spent $1.3 million on a house, and it's like one of two things happen here: either you have way more money than you're letting on, and you really want people to feel sorry that your $1.3 million house is now only worth $1.1 million, or you way overextended yourself to begin with. And in the North American society, I tend to believe a lot of people go for the overextending themselves. Oh, the bank says I can afford it, so therefore I am going to spend $1.3 million on this house. The bank's going to look at you and just say, like, as long as you could just barely afford it, we're going to give you the money. But good luck having a standard of living thereafter. And then, of course, the interest rates go up. Then you're even worse off than you were before. So I'm not trying to not feel empathy for people, but like I always found it funny. Like there's been a couple of newspaper articles in the last like year or so where it's like trying to tell a sob story about a person who has a 5,000 square foot, $1.2 million home, and that we're having trouble making payments on it. It's like, well, you probably bought a house that was too big for you to begin with. Probably should have bought something a little bit more realistically within your means. 5,000 square feet is a little bit excessive, whatever it is. Tama GT, good evening. So far the flight's good. It's actually pretty quiet, and actually you guys are kind of prompting me to zoom out here and take another look at the VATSIM radar. I haven't seen any ATC since I left New York. I had a JFK tower when I left New York, and that was nice. Nothing happening in Florida right now, unfortunately. We're kind of coming down towards Jacksonville. Let's just do a little time check here. I've been chatting so much, I haven't even done a time check here. So we are showing an arrival time of 23:36, which is 1 hour and 10 minutes from now. So I'm going to set myself a 30-minute call here. So 20. So that is 23. And don't mind the fact that the time is wrong. I know the time is wrong. 23:56. No, what am I thinking? 23:06. The time is wrong, and that's because I backed the time up 3 hours so that we can fly in daylight still. Otherwise, it would be dark now. So the clock is off by 3 hours in the airplane just to keep us flying in daylight hours. All right, but we are looking at about 1 hour and 10 minutes still to go here, so we will have to set up for this arrival here shortly. But yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about a couple things. So the first thing, if you guys haven't seen this, and probably you guys have already seen this in your mailbox, but the Navigraph survey is open again for 2025. If you haven't completed it, I haven't completed it yet, so I shouldn't say anything, but if you haven't completed it, go do it. Go do it right now. No, finish watching the stream, then go do it. Go do the Navigraph survey. I think it's a really useful survey. I'm a big fan of it. The information that you glean out of it every year, I've read the results of the survey and some of the demographic data and so forth. It'll be really interesting to see this year how 2020 and 2024 stack up. Because I've been thinking about this, and I'm still on 2020, and I just feel no urge to upgrade to 2024. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if either of you or anybody watching has stacked up to 2024 yet, but I don't feel a push for it. I don't feel a need. I don't feel an overhanging pressure to, you gotta upgrade, you gotta upgrade, you gotta upgrade. No, like this sim runs well. I have it tweaked nicely, and that's the thing is like when you get a sim that you've tweaked well, that you found the settings you like, the combination of everything that keeps you up running at a nice frame rate, all your add-ons work, why would you go and mess with that? There's nothing I've seen in 2024 that makes me say, I gotta have that. There's no killer airplane, no killer airport, nothing. I'm hearing other streamers singing its praise these days, though stability is still an issue. Completed a bit earlier. Funny to see how my sim has changed over the years from FS9 and earlier. Yeah. I just don't feel the big need to. And again, maybe it's maybe it's me getting old and I don't like change anymore. I don't want to disrupt what I've got, because I've got, like, it's nice. It's flying along nicely. I've got the hardware, the software, everything works, everything talks. I'm not waiting for anything to get imported or set up properly for 2020 or for 2024. So like, you know, I mean, and then there's the other issues. There's the streaming issues. It's like if your network goes down, or if their servers go down, and you lose the ability to fly that simulator. So even if I do get it, I'm definitely not getting rid of this sim. And I always have the sim as a backup. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Tommy, you're still on 2020, and so I'll be curious to see where the Navigraph survey places this, because I think for people who this is more of a gaming aspect, I can see them being more on the 2024. The career mode does kind of sound like fun. That being said, I never lack for things to do in the airplane. I always have airports I want to visit, things I want to try, airplanes in my hangar that are always gathering dust. I can see the appeal of career mode. For me, I don't feel the need for it personally. I have so much going on all the time, and that I'm trying to do, you know, virtual airlines and everything else, and streaming. I don't feel the need to move on to 2024 for that reason. So it's sitting there like in my Steam wish list. I'm like, every once in a while I notice it. I'm like, should I spend the money? Maybe not. It's not worth it. Okay, fine. And then I kind of pass it off. And like, the sim I have works great. I'm trying to save a little tiny bit of money. I bought a car last month, and of course all the extraneous costs that go with that, even just the winter tires, and also putting out a bit of money for the down payment and everything. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, last month kind of hurt. It's nice to have a new car. It's good. It was needed. My old car was pretty long in the tooth, but and yeah, well, exactly. I fly the test sim IRL. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, I just trying to make a new sim work. Seems like more work than it's worth. That's my other thing, really. So, but I get where it's popular, especially for people who it doesn't cost any money if they're on the Xbox Game Pass or whatever. So I'll be curious to really see, like, with the Navigraph survey, and knowing that the Navigraph survey is biased, because it is probably biased to the more serious simmers. It's more serious simmers are more likely to take the time to fill out the survey. They're probably more likely to even be aware of the existence of the survey. Xboxers and more casual gamers probably less aware of the survey, because if you're not a Navigraph user, you probably wouldn't even know who Navigraph is. So yeah, I always kind of look at their data with a little bit of a slant. In any survey, you have to look at it with a slant, because especially if it's a voluntary survey, who are the people who are actually going to go to the effort to fill this out? And it's going to be the more serious people. So, but nevertheless, I'm curious to see what the balance is of 2020 versus 2024. You know, is 2024 doing better than Windows 11? Because I bet you it probably is doing better than Windows 11. What they need is an end of service, an end of life threat for 2020, and that'll get everyone over onto it, right? Because that's working well for Windows 10. Yeah, that reminds me of my joke of the day. What does an air conditioner have in common with a computer? They both lose efficiency as soon as you open Windows. I had to phone my dad and tell him that one as soon as I heard that one, because that was that's a good nerd joke if ever I heard one. See, and if Windows 11 works for you, then great. But yeah, it is totally a dad joke. But for me, like, Windows 10 works great. Like, I have no problem with Windows 10. I've seen Windows 11 on my kids' computer. Both my kids' computers have Windows 11 on it. Again, it's the problems with Windows 11. It's the same stuff that's even in Windows 10. Like, the settings app is getting more and more awkward to use. It's like finding the actual settings you want. They're getting hidden under more and more layers. Yeah, I don't. I'm not a big fan of the way Windows is evolving anymore. I think the operating system is... Windows 10 is not bad, but it seems like with every iteration, Windows is getting worse now, and they're constantly trying to push updates on you and change things, like even Notepad having AI integrated into it. It's like, don't touch my Notepad. For the love of God, do not touch Notepad. Notepad is fantastic. It's just a straight text editor. It shouldn't have bells and whistles. You want bells and whistles, you go get Microsoft Office, but Notepad should just be a straight up text editor. Yeah, it's very frustrating that because the user interface is not getting better. It's getting simpler, and if you don't, again, they're going the Apple way. If you don't use it the way they want you to, then it's getting harder and harder to use. And that's my challenge. That's my difficulty with it. I'm not I won't say I'm a power user, but I'm definitely a strong user. And I want to have abilities, options. I want to have options. I want to have access to options. I want them to be easy to find, easy to use. And I find like the way the settings app is now, it's trying to hide too much stuff behind a clean interface. So yeah, I've seen Windows 11, and it's definitely not better than Windows 10. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that this computer that I have is not compatible with Windows 11. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a TPM module on it, so whether or not I even upgrade this to Windows 11 remains to be seen. I'm toying with the idea of buying a new computer anyways, buying a new CPU motherboard combination to help improve the performance of the SIM even more. But then I also have a laptop as well, which also is not compatible with Windows 11. So I have two computers in my house, which are... My laptop's not that old. It's about 5 years old, so it's not that old, but it's not Windows 11 compatible. My desktop computer, mind you, the CPU and motherboard are a little bit older than that, but I think that's my biggest issue with Windows 11 is this whole forced upgrade thing. You got to replace all of your computer hardware because we decided to make a system that that's not compatible with older hardware. And I get the idea of having the TPM, but making that a requirement, I think it's an overreach. A lot of people keep their computers for a lot longer than 5 years. Like my laptop generally lasts 5 years, but my desktop, I'm on more like an 8 to 10 year upgrade cycle with that. And mine just partly been a cash and money situation in the past. But you know, I shouldn't be forced to upgrade just to keep the system running. There should be a way to certainly run Windows 11 on an older computer without these forced hardware upgrades. I think that's just ridiculous. If you want to set the bar that high, and most people don't have that hardware, don't expect them to go and drop $1,000, like $1,000 in a computer, and maybe like $600, $700, $800 probably on at least $1,000 for a new laptop, because I do have a gaming laptop, because I do take it with me, and I do a lot of video processing and other stuff on it, and then probably easily $700, $800 to get a new motherboard, a new CPU, probably a new cooler on top of that, all that stuff, you know, like. Between the two things to upgrade to Windows 11 on two computers, you're talking easily almost $2,000 worth of spending. That's money that I would like to choose when to spend. I shouldn't be forced to spend it by a certain deadline to meet Microsoft's ridiculous end-of-life situation here. That's why you went back to XP. Yeah. See, and there's part of me that like I probably will have the money to spring on one of these. I haven't even decided. I'm thinking more my laptop might be kind of it's getting a little slow. It's getting a little old, and the fact that it often goes to public Wi-Fi's makes me think it's more in need of Windows 11. You know, I feel like my desktop, which is behind a firewall and a router and a couple of other things. I feel like it's probably a little bit safer for that to be still running Windows 10 past end of life than my laptop. So I think my laptop might end up being replaced before my desktop for that reason, even though I kind of want to get the desktop replaced sooner to get a better CPU going for the simulator sooner. So I don't know. But just the very fact that you're being forced into that we're not going to provide any security updates past past this date, and it's like, if you created software that was that ready to begin with, you're obligated to continue providing security updates as long as people are willing to continue using it, and certainly 5 years is not a long enough time for computer upgrades. A lot of people keep their computers for a lot more than 5 years. This is not like the cell phone business where everyone's replacing their cell phone every 2 years. Anyways. The other thing I'm thinking about too is possibly, again, also setting up a Linux server on this computer when I replace the CPU and motherboard. I might take the CPU motherboard out, put it in an old case, and create a small server to run at home as well. I do have a NAS, but it would be nice to have like something a little more powerful to process videos and stuff with. But anyways, yeah, not a big fan of Windows 11 anyways. I've seen it, I've used it, and again, nothing about it screams you should upgrade to this immediately. There's definitely nothing about it that says you need to have it. Other than Microsoft's insistence that you should. Alright, I feel like we're coming up to the end here because I see magic there, and that is the start of the CUDA-3 arrival. So I'm beginning to think it's about time for us to start setting up for our arrival into Fort Lauderdale. Let me have one more look at my VATSIM radar. Surprisingly, there does not appear to be any ATC in Fort Lauderdale. Quite a few airplanes coming and going, and lots of controllers online tonight, but nobody in Florida. Boo. Hey, Hayden, UK, do you live in the UK? If not, it's just a terrible nickname, isn't it? Yes, he does, and he wishes us all good luck with our. He wishes us all good luck with our fighting to remain independent. I think we should make the U.S. the 11th province. Okay. What I got to do? I gotta start setting up. So let's pull up the ATIS here. If I can find what I did with it here. Where did I put the ATIS? There it is. All right, behind my flight plan here, it is an ATIS. So let's see what they're doing in Fort Lauderdale today, because I set up for a west flow, but it looks like they're on an east flow today, so we'll have to change that up. 175, 10 miles, sky clear, 21 degrees. Oh, it's nice in Florida today, though. Not that it wasn't bad here, a little damp. Let's see here, 3006. I'll let you guys talk. You discuss amongst yourselves. I'm just going to set up the arrival here. Expect ILS approach 10 right, GPS approach 10 left, warning 10 left shortened. LDA 7,400 feet, okay. Aircraft by taxiway Bravo 10 left, 10 right, warning 10 left shortened. Tower frequencies 119.3. TFR in effect for South Florida area. Okay, so there's some stuff going on. Okay, so we're going to have to change this up for 10 left. I'm going to have to pull up some charts as well just to see what's going on here. And actually, I think what we'll do is we will plan on 10 right, since they do seem to be advertising 10 right as the primary on the ILS. And because I think 10 right gets us closer to our gate anyways. I'm pretty sure we were parking on the south side, I think gate Golf 8 or something like that. Think about it, Navigraph. Come on, you can do this. I know you can. There we go. No, you can. I'm pretty sure we're parking over here, so 10 right might be the easier arrival. So, yeah, 10 Bravo 10. So 10 left is short to Bravo 10. We'll just land 10 right and taxi back to. Although probably it's going to be about the same taxi in, depending on how long we're about. Yeah, what the hell? We'll do 10 right because nobody's telling us to do anything different right now. ILS 10 right. There we go. Okay, so plate 11-2, 111.75. Okay, so let's just start looking through this here. And actually, before we do that, let's just do a landing distance calculation on 10 right, and then we'll look through this whole thing here. So, landing distance. Looks like a nice day, 10 right, dry runway. Let's apply the METAR. This is from 2153. Let's actually refresh that once and see if there's anything newer. Yeah, there's much newer stuff. Okay. Apply METAR. There we go. 21 degrees. Perfect. Landing weight. Alright, so we got 61 for ZFW. 64.4. 64.4. Alright, low auto brake seems like it's going to be a little bit tight, so we'll go medium auto brake on this one. Idle on reverse, to manual landing, collapsible auto thrust on. So we'll go medium auto brake on this. Alright, and status page, anything interesting on the status page is the center tank pumps because the center tanks are empty, so that's fine. Fuel's good. Alright. Let's see here. Alright, so let's pull this up. I'm going to put this in plan mode. We'll put the constraints up. And... Alright, so I'm going to drag this across just to look at really quickly, but then I have to move it on the other screen so I can actually see it. So we're going through Magic to the CUDA-3 RNAV arrival. And actually what I could do, if I can figure out what I did with it, where is my tablet here? I'll just use my tablet right now to scroll through this thing here. And this should work out nicely. A second to pull this up. Oh, I know what I wrote there. I suddenly figured out what my writing was. It's always funny when you can't read your own writing. Okay. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so we got the CUDA 3 RNAV arrival. For, oh, we got to reprogram this for 10 left. So first I'm just going to... Nope, that's the wrong. Arrival, ILS 10. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. 10 right. ILS 10 right. Same stars. Let's keep that all the same. Alright. Alright, so Magic, A-Bid, Plump, Birdman, 280 knots, 280 knots, 280 to 240. Let's just scroll this up there a little more. Alright, yeah, Junix above 210, Holt at 270, above 15,000, Weehoo above 13,000, Mackle at 260, above 11, and then CUDA at 8,000. We got Locker, Seraph, Deepak, and then Waynar, and then get vectors or self-vector to an ILS to runway 10 right. So, I don't know if we got Bunker on there, but we should have Bezer. We got, oh, sorry, we got Blame and we got Lori. Blame above 3,000 and Lori at 1,800. And then the missed approach, so straight ahead 800 feet, then a climbing right turn to 2,000 on the Fort Lauderdale VOR, radial 115, outbound to Ulsa's intersection and hold. So 2,000. Course 115 inbound to Ulsa's. That's definitely where it goes, so that's good. Alright, so that's all in there. RadNav is not auto-tuned yet. We're still a little far out. We're expecting to see IFLL 111.75 and 096 eventually. Yeah, we're about 300 miles. This RadNav should auto-tune shortly here. Cheapest primary nav accuracy is high. Performance in the box here. And I should stop doing this on the tablet. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be doing this on the tablet here. Okay, so we'll do performance here. So descent 75257. Wow, that's a really low descent speed there. How's our fuel prediction looking here? We got 1.5 extra. I might start bumping up this cost index, or at least bump up the descent anyways. Did the CUDA 3 say descend to 280? A lot of these do. A lot of these US arrivals do say descend. No, there's no speed instruction other than what's there at Birdman at 280. So I think what we'll do is just start bumping the cost index up here. 50. That'll that'll speed us up. That's a little fast. We'll go 320.79. And sorry, it's the other way around. 0.79, 320. I like to do no more than 320. That gives us a 30 knot margin under the high speed limit. All right, that's good. That back there. Okay, QNH. Back to my ATIS here for a second. So QNH is 3006. I'm also going to set that on the FCU right now. 3006, 21 degrees, and 170 at 5. 3006, 21 degrees, and 120 at 5. Nice light breeze off the ocean. 3006, 20 degrees. All right, perfect. ILS minimums. ILS 10 right is supposed to be 264. And the go around is 2,000 feet. So 264 and 2,000 feet for the mist. While I'm looking at this, what did I say the tower frequency was? 19.3, I think? 19.3, yeah, it's 19.3, so let's just scroll down just a little more and make sure that is in there for the tower, so we're ready to go there. Just while I'm thinking of it. 19.3, secondary, fuel prediction page, so we got 1.4 extra still, 42 minutes, that's lots of extra fuel. Secondary, we're copying. Alright, and we'll leave that in, actually no, we'll change this one to the GPS runway 10 left is what they're also advertising. So RNAV, Zulu 10 left. say approach vias. I'm going to say no via on this one. Alright, so let's just have a quick look at this on the plan page here as well. I'm not expecting this one unless ATC comes online and gives it to us. So let's just have a look here. Okay, where's my charts? So let's just really quickly bring it up and make sure it does kind of make sense to us, but I'm not going to plan on doing it here. Alright, the RNAV Zulu to 210 left, hold it. GAMV Warrior, and then that 10 left. Just approach line 800 feet, climbing left turn 4,000, direct Marts, and hold. Nove, Peiki, 10 left, and Marts, hold at 4,000. That's all in there. Alright, so I'm not going to worry too much about that, but at least the secondary's got something useful in it. Perfect. Alright, I think we're just about ready. I'm just going to have a quick look at the NOTAMs before I give a briefing here. And I did the JetBlue flight plan, and boy, do I just not like it. The NOTAMs are just a wall of text. There's not even like a line differentiating where the NOTAMs for JFK end and Fort Lauderdale start. There's nothing, so it's just like, the only thing is the weather's there, which is fine, but it's like, I do like Lido because it highlights things like runway numbers, things like that. ILS 10 right, circling, okay, we're not going to do circling. There's 28 right, patches unserviceable, there's a bunch of stuff. Aerodrome, airport beacon, not standard, wait. Markings. 8 right, ALS serviceable. ILS or low 10 left. Runway 10 left. Not too worried about 10 left. Work in progress. Yes, edge lighting not standard. E606 feet closed, so there's only 70. Landing is available 7,400 feet, so I think we could probably do it even on this airplane with medium auto brake. We'll look at it in a second here. EMAS not standard. It's the boring part of doing this job. Just making sure that you actually read all these things, and boy, are they boring. Okay, no, there's nothing in there, I think, that really affects us at all. So we got 19.3 up. Just curious how far out our top of descent point is. Top of descent still about 150 miles away. We're showing about 45 minutes till we get there. Yeah, about 45 minutes till we get there. All right. Yeah, so far so good. I think we could probably just about give a briefing. I don't see anything going on here. A lot of suddenly tapping on the Unicom frequency there. What's going on Unicom now? Wow, people are really talking. Evening, I see you joining Q87 at Deuce, and the level at 330 initially is 350 your final. Yes, there's 350's final. You need to make some room for you. Yes, we'll climb to 390. We'll offset 5 miles west until we're above 360. Wow. Unicom works. When you get people who want to work together, Unicom really works. And every once in a while, like there's a guy yesterday that was just not playing nicely. I was taxiing out for departure yesterday, and on the network, and this guy was sitting on the runway, and he was sitting there I had de-ice, so I was taxiing for like a good 3 miles, and I could see him for like the last 2 miles of the taxi. He's just sitting there on the runway and not moving and not moving and not moving. And finally, I texted him. I'm like, buddy, if you're not going to take off, you got to get off the runway. Like, some of us would like to use it. I was just about to taxi around him and depart from in front of him. And he finally got the hint and got going. But it's like, I get it if stuff happens, and if you're trying to fix something on the runway. But if it's going to be more than a couple of minutes, get off the runway. This guy was on the runway for at least 10 minutes at least before he finally took off. And yeah. Most people want to play nice in this network, but occasionally you get somebody who's just thinking about themselves and nobody else, unfortunately. Yeah, I figured out what I wrote here that I could not read, and that was mount, because I did manage to create a nice little mount for my under my desk here. Oh, let's see if I can do this here. Let's see here if I can show you guys this on the web here. Okay, let's go. That. Just trying to find a way to get this online here. 1 second here. Alright, so my phone no longer works, so I'm using my tablet for this. Let's see if this works. This should work. There it is. The irony now is that it's going to go off into infinity. There it is. But there's, yeah. So I just wanted to show you guys what I built here, which was actually a really neat project that I really enjoyed here. So don't mind the mess of cables back there. But right underneath my desk are these 3 mounting points that are actually 3D printed. And there's actually, because of the way the desk is structured, there's a metal frame underneath the desktop. So I had to screw these 2x4s on here to provide something for these mounts to screw into. Sorry. But basically, then there's little plastic strips that are now screwed to the top of my SciTech yoke and my Honeycomb Bravo yoke, or my Honeycomb Bravo throttle quadrant. And they literally slide right in here. And then there's also these pins, which are also quite well designed, that slide, if I can do it here on the video, they slide right in here so that when you slot these into the into their little slots here, the pins go right through them and hold them in place. So very simple system. Actually the way it was designed was actually just as these 2 edge mounts, and then I took these 2 edge mounts and I kind of stuck them together with Blender with the 3D authoring software, and I created this custom part for the middle so that I could get these mounted as closely together as possible, rather than mount them separately. So I built this middle one myself to mount it using the existing designs. I just simply modified them to have it be a double mount. But so now it is incredibly easy. So you can see there's the USB extension plug right there that I attached my SciTech yoke to. And then somewhere hanging down here, there it is the USB-C. Yes, everything's just hanging down. I really did like declutter my underside of my desk a little more, but that USB-C plugs in the back of the Honeycomb. So it only takes me now about 45 to 60 seconds to dismount and put the Honeycomb and the SciTech up on the Honeycomb and the SciTech up on the shelf, which are up over there on my shelf now. So it used to be I had them screwed together as one unit. I had a metal plate that went across the top of both of them, and I had to pull them out and put them on as one unit, and it was so awkward. It was such a big thing. It was very heavy. The metal tended to bend a little bit in the middle, and I used to just clamp them. Nope, it seems to have frozen. I used to just clamp them to my desk. I have them here. Where are they? I used the Honeycomb clamps to just clamp this giant piece of metal to my desk. Yeah, I just found it was so big and awkward that I never took it off. The idea was to make it kind of portable, and I could remove it with the clamps whenever I wanted, but I found it was so awkward I never took it off. So I 3D printed these. I 3D printed the mounts. I don't know how well you can see them over there. Sorry. Somehow it went to like ultra zoom. I don't know how it went to ultra zoom and how to get it back again. You son of a bugger. Now it's like mega zoom and I can't do anything about it. There we go. I was just trying to get like a little bit of zoom. But you can see the mounts that are just sticking off the edge of the honeycomb there, and they're just little plastic 3D printed mounts as well. So it took a little while to do. Just the mounts underneath have like each have like about 10 screws in there, because the screws also go up directly into the mount. The pieces of wood underneath my desk are screwed into the desk with like about 10 screws each, so that they are solidly part of the desk now. And then the mounts are partly screwed through the metal frame, partly screwed into them. But I'm pretty impressed with that. I'm pretty happy with that. It was a very effective solution to this problem, and I did use an existing template, so I'm going to see if I can find it for you here. If anybody's interested in this, it's on Thingiverse. I took that middle mount myself. I made that middle mount myself by modifying by remixing the design. So I was thinking about posting it. I just never got around to it, but maybe I should. Maybe I should post it. But I will say this: like, it makes it so much easier. Like I said, it takes me about 45 seconds to like dismount each one and put it up on the shelf. Like, it's so easy now. Whereas before, I worry that because they're plastic, they will eventually start to wear out and have a little bit of play in them. But I could always reprint them again too. So let's see here if I can find it. Here. I liked it a long time ago. I think it was on Thingiverse. Maybe it wasn't even on Thingiverse. Maybe it was on something else. No, I think it was actually on something else. It was on Thingiverse. Where was it? Because I hate not to give credit. Like, whoever designed it. Let me see if I can find it. I see the top drops coming up. I'll do a briefing. Let me just see if I can find this. Yes, here it is. I found it. Okay. It's on printables.com. I just searched for Honeycomb Alpha Bravo Quick Mount. So this, the user was Bauer Andy. Let's see if I can just make this bigger. But so you can see exactly what he's done here as well. So there's a couple of extra pieces as well. So there's the pin. The pin's really simple. So it's the two edge pieces here are mounted to your desk. The gray pieces are mounted to your desk. The blue is just a pin that keeps this from sliding in and out. And then you mount these to the top of your honeycomb. So he has created a middle piece as well, pardon me, that just follows the curve at the back of the honeycomb, just so that like it doesn't want to flip up and down underneath your desk. Like, yeah, this is kind of like pressed up against your desk, so it does kind of, if you're pushing down on it at all, it's not hinging up at the back. So yeah, there's this third piece that mounts kind of up the middle, but it works quite well. So that's what it looks like on there, and then you just need an extra little something on there. I put a little felt thing in there, but he's got a rubber thing. This is just from the website. But yeah, you can see it mounts right on the top, the little holes for the pin. It's super simple in terms of like putting it together, but boy, it really works nicely. The only thing I'm afraid of is that these pins especially are going to eventually wear out, and I might try and put like something tacky at the top, because the pins, they just are there to keep it from sliding in and out when you're pulling on the yoke. So they just need a little bit of, I'm thinking like even like some of that blue tacky stuff at the top, just so that when you put it in, the pin doesn't fall out. That's the only downside. And I actually did have an idea. Are materials expensive for 3D printing? They don't have to be. And actually, I was shocked at how inexpensive 3D printing was to kind of get into. Let me answer you that in a little bit. I just see the top of Descent coming up, so I'll just do the briefing and then we can talk about it. But like, I found that 3D printing was not as expensive to get into as I thought it was going to be in the beginning. All right, let's see here, because that, like, honestly, like those desk mounts are, if that's more than $4 worth of plastic, that's a miracle, and it's probably not even that much. Okay, yeah. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
Okay, so again, no TAMs, nothing of interest in Fort Lauderdale, and technical status of the aircraft, there's nothing failed, nothing going wrong with the airplane. You guys aren't encouraging me to fail things, which is great. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so today's arrival is the CUDA 3 RNAV arrival. We've already started it. The routing constraints are all as published. Everything's in the box. Special notes, radar required, jets only. Landing east, we use the 10 left transition. We're planning 10 right anyways. There's only one transition, really. Landing west, use the 28 right transition. Expect runway assignment from MI approach prior to CUDA. Do not file those particular transitions. Okay, none of that stuff applies to us. So the routing constraints are all published. It's going to get us onto a downwind. The bottom altitude on this is 8,000. We'll have to eventually get ourselves down to 4,000. And self-vector onto an ILS to runway 10 right is the plan in Fort Lauderdale. So Loc IFLL 11175 and 096. That should be auto-tuned by now. Let's just check. IFLL 11175 098. A little variation in the variation, but that's okay. It's within reason. Yeah, 096 degrees. Lorry 1800, ILSDA 264. We've got that all set. The missed approach says published was otherwise advised by ATC. The top altitude 2,000 for the missed. 2,100 feet the MSA. All sectors are on the Fort Lauderdale DOR. Simultaneous approach is authorized. VGSI and ILS glide path knock wind. It's a 3-degree slope down the glide slope. Copies on the right MLSF lighting system. And RVR 4,000 or 3/4 of a mile. Landing on runway 10 right. This is the one that's got the upslope in it. So starting at about Juliet 7, there's a pretty substantial upslope on this runway, so we should have no problem decelerating. Convenient left turn off the runway. We'll try for maybe Juliet 8, Juliet 9 if we need it. Back down the taxiway, loop around, and we're going to the gate here. The gate I already set up, and so we're assigned gate Golf 8, I believe. Assigned Golf 8, so we're going to go to gate Golf 8 via Tango 8 here and into the apron. Yeah. Approach configuration, so it's going to be a managed approach to a manual landing, low flight slope couple approach, clear for the approach, arm approach mode, and the second autopilot. The anti-ice will be off for this arrival. We've got auto brake medium for the shorter runway. Let's see here. We'll do config full and maximum and reverse max. We'll back off the reverse and the medium auto brake once we are decelerating. Let's see here. Quick check across the bottom here. So the rad nav we've got tuned. The fuel prediction, we're showing 1.4 tons extra, 42 minutes. We got lots of time before we go off to our altitude at West Palm Beach, so not a big deal. And the secondary does have the GPS RNAV runway 10 left programmed in it without the minimums, but that's okay because it is VMC. Just in case we get reassigned that. It is a shorter runway, however, I have checked the landing distance as well. The factored landing distance here, 5,600, and it's 7,400 even on 10 left with the shortened. So that's not an issue either. And that's basically it. Any questions?
No questions.
I have control.
You have control.
All right, so that's it. We are into our, into our descent checklist. I think we got everything covered. We're ready for our top of descent. That will be the 30 minutes to landing. So flight attendants, 30 minutes to landing. And yeah, away we go. So is 3D printing expensive? It doesn't have to be. Now, it depends on what your kind of goals and aspirations are with 3D printing. You can spend a lot of money on 3D printing. You absolutely can, but the entry-level stuff is it's not very expensive anymore. I used to like think, oh, it's a couple $1,000s for a printer or whatever, 3D printer. It's not. If you don't mind having a small printer that is not the highest quality, it'll be fine, it'll be reasonable, it won't be the highest quality, but it's not bad. You can get away with spending $300-400 and you can have an entry-level 3D printer. So that's what mine cost me, I think $350, I think. And if you don't mind having a model that's slightly older, that's a couple of years old, you might be able to buy one on sale for like $200. It does not take much to get into it. The plastic itself, and again, it runs the gamut. So the starting plastic is you're looking at about $15 to $20 a kilo, which so you're I can unroll this spool that's on my printer here, but this spool right here is a kilo spool, or it was when it was when it was full. Right now it's almost empty, but anyways, when it was full, it was a kilo spool, 15 to 20 bucks for about a kilo of plastic, which is really not much. Just try and put this back on my mount point there. Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. Now, depending on what you want to do with it, it can get expensive. So that's actually probably was about $20-25 for a spool, because that's actually PETG, which is like kind of the second level plastic. So the cheapest plastic you can buy is called PLA. It's really quite inexpensive. It's generally organic based plastic, so it's plastic that's actually made from plant cellulose. So it's generally very non-toxic. It's got a very low melting point, which is simultaneously a plus and a minus. So the very low melting point means you don't have to run your printer nozzle very hot. Like 200 degrees is all you need, and it'll melt the plastic and it'll make things for you. But the downside of that is, of course, it softens at about 80 degrees. So anything you put inside your car might start to deform. One of the first things I made was a little just stand for my phone, little plastic fold-up stand that pops up and holds up your phone. And after like a couple days in the car, I noticed that it had just slightly warped itself to just perfectly match the curve to the dash of my car. So yeah, like PLA is fine for a lot of basic tasks. It's not the strongest. It's got a little bit of a lower melting point, but it's a good kind of learning plastic as well. For some reason, it's looking really slow on the stream there. I'm not sure why. The stream's kind of going a little slow right now. Alright, so we are going to go start our descent here. So 8,000 feet was the CUDA crossing altitude. Since there's no ATC, 8,000 it is. Mach descent, all blue. Yeah, so, and you can generally buy PLA plastic for $15, $20, $25. Some companies will charge more. It depends on, you know, the colors, the different exact compositions, different properties. They change from one manufacturer to another. So some manufacturers will charge more than that. Certainly for rarer colors, transparent colors, different things that you'll pay more for. But definitely you can get started for like $20, $25 a roll. So it doesn't have to be very much to get you started. And then a lot of the stuff I have printed over the years, I'm just trying to look around right now, was PLA. But then then you find that eventually you start to become unhappy with PLA. And then, and again, it depends on the brand. Like I think I fell backwards into a good brand. So I've mostly bought Creality brand. My printer's a Creality printer, and I've mostly bought Creality brand filament in the past, and generally it's worked quite nicely. And then for Christmas I got some different colors of filament, and so this is just something I made with one color filament. It's a very nice color. It's like a blue, it's like a very kind of grayish blue. It's a very nice color, but it's actually a really lousy plastic. And I don't want to disparage the person who bought it for me, because it was intended as a gift, and it was a nice gift, and I appreciate it. But I discovered that this is actually a pretty lousy plastic. And that the plastic I've been using is actually pretty good plastic, and a lot of the plastic I've used, because it's all the same brand and it's kind of designed specifically by the manufacturer's printer, works very well in this printer. This plastic does not work well. It doesn't stick very well to itself. It's kind of fragile. This is the only plastic I've had where the little string of filament going into the printer has broken on multiple occasions going into the printer. So it's not very strong plastic. It's not very good quality plastic. It's a nice color. It's a really nice color, but it's not good plastic. There's a lot of trial and error involved. It's a hobby. 3D printing is a hobby. You're going to waste plastic. You're going to make mistakes. You've got to realize that going in. Why are we so far over the target speed here? Is it already trying to get to the... Yeah, we got to get some speed brakes out here to get back on target a little bit here. It's supposed to be... It did kind of level off a little bit here. Alright, there we go. Again, it's closer to being within that window at Bowden there. Still a tiny bit fast. Get a little more speed brake going. Yes, it's a very trial and error kind of hobby. You will make mistakes. You will break things. Things will not work the way they're supposed to. It also is a lot of trial and error of just trying to find like the right temperatures and speeds for certain materials. So what I've used here, what I have right now with my 3D printer is a different kind of plastic called PETG, which is kind of like the second level. It's made from petroleum. It's a harder plastic. It's a little more resistant. It's a little more resistant to heat. It has a higher melting point, so it's a little bit more trouble. It's a little more trouble to print with it. It's a little hotter. You have to print slower for it to work, but it's stronger then. It's a stronger plastic. It's a little bit less prone to. It's a little bit less prone to breaking, but it's also, it doesn't have as much flex to it. So if it does break, it doesn't bend. It just cracks. It breaks. So this is what I made out of that I was making actually today. Was the cross members of this. So it's a bunch of different pieces that are all put together, but basically all this is a tablet stand. So I put it right next to I have a little table down here underneath my desk. I put it right next to my throttle quadrant, and my tablet sits on it nicely, and it's kind of at the right angle for an FMS. And when I eventually get my wind wing, I might even, well, wind wing already comes with its own mounts, but that's kind of the idea is it's sort of just like it's a nice mount for my tablet, so it just sits at a nice angle. It's not flat, but it's just aimed up a little bit at me like an FMS would be. So that's what I printed today. Yeah, it's a little bit of a harder plastic. It takes a lot more time to print, but yeah, it's a little bit more rugged than the PLA, but it's not plant-based. It's petroleum-based, so you are, you know, there is a little bit of fumes and stuff being given off by what you have, by what you're printing. So, you know, PLA's fine because it's all plant-based. It's not really toxic. The PETG is a little bit toxic, but it's usually fine. Then you get into like the other stuff like ABS, which is like the Lego style plastic, which is very, very hard plastic, very high melting point. But it's very, very, very resistant to like UV rays and everything. You can use it for outdoor projects, things like that. So depending on what you want to do, the size printer you're looking for, fully enclosed or not, multiple colors. This is something else that I made. This is my flight counter for when I go to work, and I just put the flight number up there, and I just literally I clamp this to the. You can't really see the fact it's the clamp. There you go. See, it's a clamp. I clamp this right to the glare shield, so I have the flight number when I'm flying, so I can just quickly glance up and see what the flight number is without having to hum and haw and think, what flight number are we today? So yeah, this is all 3D printed from different parts. So yeah, I mean, it is a hobby. It's something that, like, if you're a problem solver, and a lot of people who are in aviation generally are problem solver type people, they see a problem, they say there's a solution to it. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. So like the under desk mount, that was all printed with the black plastic. But it's nice because you can print exactly what you need for a situation. Sometimes you're just looking for things to print, fun things to print. Other things I've printed include like I have a specific card holder now for Settlers of Catan, so you can have all the different piles of cards organized instead of just sitting there as piles that turn into like chaos by the middle of a game. They're actually like just a little 6-deck holder that you can actually have it organized. I've got another similar one for Ticket to Ride, just to kind of keep everything organized. You know, you come up with these little projects. On my bulletin board here, I have racks specifically for my calipers, for my files, for my set of jewel files. You come up with things that, like, you know what, I could make something. Underneath my desk over here, I have a mount for my USB. So my headset, I take it away with me a lot, so my computer's kind of far away, so I have a USB extension cord that is then attached to this little mounting point, so it sits underneath my desk permanently, and I can just plug it and unplug it. It's very convenient, right where I need it to be. So yeah, it's a fun hobby. It doesn't take much to get into anymore. It used to be printers were very expensive, but entry-level printers are not expensive anymore. You can buy them for a couple $100, and a kilogram of plastic goes a long way. Like, honestly, this is like, this thing probably like, you know, you weigh it, like, this thing weighs maybe 15-20 grams. So in total, if it cost me $20 to buy a kilogram, this thing costs like $1 in terms of the material. Now the energy is obviously a different equation, and then you know, you got to accept that you're not really making money off of anything here, or you're not really saving any money. But sometimes it's just stuff that you need that you can't find in a store to suit a certain need, like a battery case. Like I have.
008 set passing 18,000.
I'm not sure that's the right altimeter setting, buddy. Hold on, wait for it. Nope, that's not the right one.
No.
Here we are. Oh, it is 3006. That's a chicken. Okay. Yeah, like in terms of the cost of plastic is generally very inexpensive. But there are, like, the PETG is a little bit more expensive. I think that was about $25 for the roll. And specialty plastics, like I said, transparent plastics, soft plastics, things like that. Specialty colors, you may get more. Looks like we are getting a little above the path here. So I'm just getting the speed brakes out. You may find that you get, yeah, some things will cost a little more. But it's fun. Useful things I printed. One of the first things I printed that was really useful, it used a lot of plastic, but I printed a holder for the Dyson vacuum attachment. So you know how the Dyson vacuum parts all have these like little clips on them, so they can all, the vacuum hose clips on there. And we got a new Dyson vacuum that came with 10 different components, and they're all just sitting in a box on the floor of the closet. I'm like, I know what I can do with those. So I found online, someone had already designed this, a mounting point for these. So literally, it's just you screw it to your wall, and I had to print 3 of them. Each one holds 3, but you can literally screw it into your wall and then clip your vacuum onto it, clip your vacuum attachment onto it, and now they're all organized. Instead of sitting in a pile on the floor, they're all organized along the back wall of the closet. So, you know, sometimes, yeah, you see things around your home, and you're like, there's a solution to this. The original reason why I bought it, and the silliest thing, but like, my phone box and my network switch are both stacked up on top of each other, and I hated so much that they were stacked up, but they were like askew. And because of the way the network cables came out of them, they were always askew, and one was not lined up with the other. So I just simply built this little rack that connects to the corners of both of them and just kind of holds them in line. And it's the silliest thing, but it's like, it just is driving me nuts. It's like, I want them to sit nicely on top of each other instead of being askew. So I designed and built a little rack like that. Sometimes you have to find reasons to print stuff. And sometimes you just print silly little toys for your kids, too. Yes, and I won't say, like, I've designed some things myself, but, like, yes, the community is huge. Like, there's literally millions of 3D things available on the internet. Some people charge like $1 or $2 for their design. A lot of people don't charge anything for their designs. And then oftentimes people take a design and remix it and make it slightly better. And it's a crowdsourced engineering project. So people look at it and say, how can I make this better? And I've done that with many things. I've seen things that be like, I like this, but I see how this could immediately be better. And then you go in and you kind of just tinker with it a little bit, change it a little bit, and make it better. And I've done that with a number of things. I printed the silliest thing, but I printed a banana holder. It's just a plastic banana-shaped case that you put your banana in, so when you put it in your lunch bag, your banana doesn't get smushed when you bring your banana to work. And it's the silliest thing, but the first iteration of it, it had like it has a little lip to it so that the two parts stay aligned, but the lip was so narrow, it was like less than half millimeter wide, that within like 2 weeks it had broken. Just the little lip itself had broken. So I was like, well, that's not very rugged, you know, for something that's going to be clipped and unclipped repeatedly. So I took it, I put it in the 3D modeler, and I just simply tripled the width of that little lip that lines the two things up. So now instead of being like less than half millimeter wide, it's over a millimeter wide. That get a little bit more strength out of it. You see problems, you can fix it. Like I said, like with this desk mount, it was supposed to be an individual mount for each unit, but I'm like, I want them close together, so I'm going to combine the middle clips together, so that instead of having 2 separate clips for the 2 pieces, I combine it to one. You see problems, and you can solve them, and as long as you have a little bit of knowledge of how to use a 3D modeler, I use Blender. It works just great for what I'm trying to do. Yeah, it could be a fantastic tool. All right, so we're coming up to 10,000 feet, so I'm gonna have to stop talking about stuff and actually pay attention to what I'm doing here. We're getting into sterile flight deck situation here, and if I don't pay attention, it will stuff will get away from me here. So there's 10,000 approach checklist.
Paragraph.
3006 inches set and cross-checked. 3006 set. 3006 set.
3006 set. Seatbelts.
On.
Minimum.
264 feet set.
Auto brake.
Medium armed.
Engine mode selected.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
A little high.
Not license to go.
Fort Lauderdale traffic. JetBlue 601 20 miles northeast of the field, descending on the CUDA arrival for the ILS runway 10 right, Fort Lauderdale. I'm surprised there's no ATC down here. I would have thought on a Friday night there'd be somebody in South Florida. Speed Alt Star. A little disappointed. We had at least ATC leaving JFK, so that's at least a plus, but I'm a little disappointed we don't have any down here. There's a couple airplanes on the ground in Fort Lauderdale. I can see 2 on the ground in Fort Lauderdale right now, so we'll just keep our eyes peeled as we approach. And then I was thinking about this, and you guys can let me know what you think. I was thinking about doing the next leg over to Mo Bay, but I feel like it's already gotten late and long, and I would rather save that for another stream. Even that's a 2-hour flight. That's a decent flight. I think it's about an hour and 40-minute flight, so it would be... Yeah, now see how many are CTAF. Well, and this is the one thing, like VATSIM radar is fantastic for this now, for spying on other pilots and seeing what they're doing. And not that you're necessarily spying on them, you know, that's not the right term per se, but to make sure, just to see that other people are on the right frequency. And even if they are on the right frequency, I mean, there's always issues too, because I had this issue today and it really frustrated me. I was making all the appropriate calls on the mandatory frequency going into Toronto, and then I land, and I taxi off, and I look up at VPilot, I notice that it's not transmitting. Every time I press I push the dock, it's not transmitting. And it just wasn't recognized to push the dock for whatever reason. I'm going to go ahead and descend to 5,000 here. Alright, first idle, open descent, alt blue. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I had to restart VPilot. I didn't know. I thought I was making all my calls like as I was supposed to as a good pilot, and not one of them actually went out. Just for whatever reason, the push to talk didn't work because I'd started at an uncontrolled airport and there was no ATC that whole flight. I didn't notice it. I never noticed it. Fortunately, other people noticed me because there was somebody holding short of the runway, and I was making all the calls, but I wasn't actually making them out loud. So fortunately, somebody who at least was paying attention and was holding short of the runway for me, so that's good. And I felt bad. I felt really bad. I should have sent him a text message and apologized because I thought I was being a good pilot, but I was not. Got to be careful of these things. All right, we are almost there, and what a beautiful, beautiful sunset in Florida. Maybe now would be a good time to get some of the gratuitous exterior shots here. Let's just kind of here. All right, just unpause that there. Oh, nice, just like that. Trying to kind of also put it in such a way that I am out of the shot. And yeah, Tom, I find the same thing. Still lots of people who are not using the proper CTAFs, the proper mandatories. I agree, and I have found the same thing. Unfortunately, there are lots of people who are not doing it. But I think for every person who isn't, there's 2 that are now. I would say the people who are not using the mandatory frequencies are definitely now in the minority. It took a while for the word to get out. I think that Canada and Mexico were also in on the CTAF trial, but I think the word is generally out there. I was flying out today, and I think everyone that I saw was making a call on the mandatory. So yeah, I feel your frustration, and there are, and I honestly, I do try to text people. If I do notice people who are like only on the Unicom, I do try to text them and say, hey, there's a mandatory frequency here. The Unicom is not appropriate. I hope I'm not stepping on too many toes. But it's one of those, like, I feel like the education process has become a little bit tougher. Ever since like the forums have sort of died. Some people are on Discord, a lot of people are on Discord, but it's not a good place for like kind of communicating things anymore. Speed, alt. So I find that like a lot of people do not have the information anymore. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pull speed so it stays at 250 for the time being. Alright, there's Fort Lauderdale right there. There's one airplane somewhere on the ground there in Fort Lauderdale. I timed this though just right there for the sunset, so you're not going to get too much dark flying at least. And honestly, it looks darker. I'm just looking over here in the corner of the stream, and it is looking a little chunky even as I look around. Like, my resolution is much smoother than it is on the stream, but or not my resolution, but my frame rate is much smoother than it is appearing on the stream. Yeah, it's also the contrast. It looks a lot darker. Like, the codec does not do a dim flight justice. All right, let's go down to 3,000 feet set. So we're past the airport. First idle, open descent, alt blue, 3,000 feet set. Roger, 3,000. Yeah, it's gonna put us 3,000 just to be in the FAF there. Perfect. Or just to be in the IF there. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, see, and you're probably smarter because you're a little bit, that's actually smart. I always say I'm transmitting on CTAF to try and nudge folks to tune the frequency in. That's good. Maybe it's just, and it might just be that the streaming software is just, because it's not in focus, it might not be showing me like the full resolution, or the full frame rate. It might be kind of shortcutting the frame rate a little bit on the screen. But yeah, that's actually a really good kind of passive-aggressive nudge to people. I do kind of like it. Alright, should we cut off?
1,000 to go.
Can we do it? We can do this. We're going pretty fast here. And Fort Lauderdale traffic, JetBlue 601 is turning the left base for runway 10 right. We'll keep the speed up for the traffic. Alright, so we'll still have to slow down a little bit here. Alright, so what do we got? We got 180 on the heading. Maybe that was a bad judgment call. I think we can stay 5 miles ahead of him, right? Maybe I should have gone in behind him. Maybe that was a bad judgment call. If it was, I'll have to apologize to him later. All right. There's 3,300 descending 3,000. All right, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. No change in status. Remove status. Remove status. All right. I think we're going to stay about 5 miles ahead of him. As long as he slows down a fair bit. I am going pretty fast here. All right. 150. All right. We got Cat 3 single, Cat 3 dual, autopilot 2. I don't know why autopilot 1 came off there. Autopilot 1 and 2, glide slope star, low star, and the missed approach altitude of 2,000 feet set. Roger. All right.
1,000 to go.
And we're going to have to manage speed here. Disregard the missed approach altitude is 2,000 feet. We might have to kick gear a shame here in a minute here. So we're already on the glide slope, but we're still doing 210 knots to stay ahead of the traffic. Not good. Not the way I'd wanted it to be. I kind of been looking a little more. Loke. We're going to need gear down here. All right. Gear down. Well, on the other hand, at the speed I'm going to stay ahead of this guy. All right, there's the Hard Rock there. Hard Rock Hotel right there. Might even need, even with the gear hanging out, might need some speed brake here momentarily. We're still doing 207 knots. Come on, gear speed, flap speed. Well, we're going to be aggressive on the flaps here. Just working hard to stay ahead of this guy. I probably should have come in behind him. I think I made the wrong choice, but too late now. Got to get him into it. So, flaps 2, speed check, flaps 2. We got to bleed some speed, and we got to bleed it quick. Will be configured by 1,000, but we won't have the speed back to about 500, which is okay because that meets the modern stabilized approach criteria. All right, flaps 3, speed checked, flaps 3. Oh, what am I doing? This guy should be doing it.
Secret.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3, 1,000.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
Landing checks. Landing checkers.
ECAM manual.
Landing, no blue.
Landing checklist complete.
Fort Lauderdale traffic, JetBlue 601, 2 miles final runway 10 right, Fort Lauderdale.
Checks.
All right. We did get it in the end. We got her done. Required a little bit of aggressive configuration with the gear there, but what are you going to do? All right. Autopilot's coming off. Cat 1. Getting a little low there now because it was dragging the power, wasn't putting the power on. Land.
100 above.
Roger. High on the slope, correcting.
Minimum.
Continue.
$100. $50, $40, $30, $20. Retard.
Alright, we got spoilers. Reverse green.
Reverse green. Diesel. $50 knots.
Manual brakes. Alright. I know we want to get off in a hurry because we don't want to mess this guy up. Coming in behind us. Fort Lauderdale traffic. JetBlue 601 clearing at Juliet 8, taxiing Juliet Tango to the apron. Should say ramp if I'm in America. Yeah, look at all the space we had here. Oh, this guy was fine. Alright, just turn off my lights so I don't blind him. She's whoa. This is why we have the FO do this. Alright, down the hill we go, because it's going to really pick up speed going down the hill here. One of the few airports in the simulator that has a really good hill in it, and lots of real-world airports have hills, and I really wish more airports would model them. Even Toronto has some pretty good hills that need to be modeled in the simulator, but anywho. Alright. If I do this, this will make him do all the rest of the after landings. Looks like he's going to get off at exactly the same place as me. And I forgot to trigger the GSX. Alright. I'm going to have to really kind of use the brakes going down here, so I'm pretty sure it was Golf 8 is the gate we're going to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of our flight.
JetBlue Airways.
Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign and the aircraft is parked safely at the gate. This will be your indication
after landing checklist.
about the cabin. Gather your belongings and disembark.
Radar and proactive VSS system.
Off and off.
Your business and hope to see you again on our future.
Off.
After landing checklist complete.
The end of this hill is a little bit extreme. Really wants to go. It's not like I have the engine anti-ice on, but she just wants to go. She's light, I think. Alright, so let's just check again. The weather radar is off. The accumulator's good. The anti-ice is off. Start the APU.
Okay.
Start the APU.
Okay.
Start APU.
Okay.
For some reason he keeps on saying starting engine, so you're useless. Alright, I started the APU since you're not going to do it. And we're looking for the gate that's got my marshaller and my ground equipment on it here. I go past it already, did I? Nope. I see the signs there. Golf 10, Golf 9, Golf 8. Okay, I see Golf 8, so we're going to cut over here for Golf 8. Make sure Spirit's not sneaking up behind me here. Alright, so lights are off. Is that the marshaller there? Maybe I selected the wrong gate. Anything's possible. I may have selected the wrong gate. All right. Spirit's already on the gate. Man, that guy texts fast. There. All right. So we got the APUs available. There we go. Remember to submit your flight. Thank you. Give me a second. Parking checklist.
Parking brake or trucks.
Set. Set.
Engines.
Off.
Ring lights.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Are you sure about it? Parking checklist complete.
Meet this guy. All right, we're here. Woo, we did it. It's always nice to get to your destination. Job well done. Job well done. You get a call from the president of the airline any minute now. All right, please remember to submit your flight. Okay, so let's go to our flight data here. Before I have a chance to forget, let's go ahead and hit submit on that. I thought that was a very nice flight overall, though. That was a really good flight. I really enjoyed that. I don't think I have another leg in me. I think it will take me just to the point where it's just too late if I do another leg. Unless you guys really want to see me go to Midway right now, I just feel like I don't have Midway in me right now. I think I'm going to save that for another day. As much fun as it is to fly, it's a lot of effort, and I can feel my voice is starting to crack as well, which is also a sign that I've talked too much. All right, so my XP is creeping up there, 5184.33. The next pilot rank will be captain. Ooh, fancy, can I finally be a captain? That better come with a big pay bump. All right, that is it for this. So let's have a quick look at the logbook. I'm curious, did we get 100 points on this one? Did I miss something? Did I botch something? I botched something. I didn't get the full 100 points. What did I botch? I thought the touchdown was really nice. I don't think I lost anything on the touchdown, did I? I did. Minus 411. Oh, it felt nicer than that. 3 out of 5. Okay, so I lost 2 points on the touchdown. Still overall a pretty good score. I can't complain. 98.49 with my little bonuses there. And yeah, it's going to be a long time before I achieve the rank of captain, because I have to double the amount of experience points I've gotten to date. So it's going to be... at an average of 100 points, it's going to be 50 more flights before I get to captain. It's going to be a long time before I get to captain. 5 more seasons at this rate. So anyways, but we are going to keep ourselves kind of on tap here for, oh, that's not what I'm trying to look at, schedule. 2 more legs left to go, down to Midway, and from Midway back to JFK, and that's it for this season. And I think I'm pretty sure I've made up my mind at this point after season 13, we'll say goodbye to JetBlue. JetBlue's been fun, and there's been lots of great liveries, and I've really enjoyed flying the bus for JetBlue, but I feel like it's gotten very repetitive. Up and down the East Coast is just, that's it. Unless you want to do a lot of really long hauls, like 4 or 5 hours over into the Midwest, or on the West Coast, I think I've pretty much tapped this one out. I had a lot of fun doing it, but I think I've tapped this one out. So I think next we're going to go to Europe. I have pretty much made up my mind. We're going to go to Europe. We're going to challenge me. We're going to challenge my knowledge, my abilities, and yeah, so we're going to definitely head to Europe next. We'll probably still be flying the narrow body since it's all I'm licensed for, so 37s or 320s. We'll have to figure out which. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting change of pace too. a lot more ATC online during the day when I normally stream. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just a matter of finding the right airline that's going to be able to provide a good variety of flying that keeps the streams interesting still. But yeah, otherwise, I think that's about it. We do have some messages on the dashboard, but they're all mostly survey messages and a paycheck. Nothing too exciting going on here. Saturday event poll, salary income. My last flight paid me 110 bucks. We're getting there. I do want that 777 type rating. I got about $620 to go, so another 6 flights or so probably will get me there. 12 hours of flying and about 50 hours of flying, 10 to 12 hours of flying will get me there. But yeah, I think that's about it. Unless you guys have got anything else you want to talk about really quickly, but I think that's about it. There's my drone camera. I am so looking forward to chase plane. Spirit's already gone. I am so looking forward to chase plane. I think chase plane is going to be awesome. It's going to just change the way we do the sim, and with any luck, that'll be before the next season anyway. So, anyways, yeah, Hayden, or sorry, Tom, it was nice to see you again. Nice to talk to you, and yeah, I will see you out there in the skies for sure. And in the meantime, everybody else as well, have a great rest of your weekend, and join me on the next stream. It probably won't be for about 2 weeks, but we will go from here. It'll be a pretty short one from here down to Mo Bay, pretty short, 2 hours. So I won't have a lot to talk about then, but a lot of time to talk then. But should be fun. I haven't been to the Caribbean for a while, so. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you out there in the VATSIM skies, and take care.